Super popular fantasy. At the beginning, he became the legitimate eldest son of the prince's mansion of the Ming Dynasty, but was stripped of his crown prince's position and demoted to the lowest level of dungeon inmate in the demon slaying department due to the release of the demon domain saint. But Jiang Nan doesn't care. Lingqi Qianmei female demon, the slash technique is complete. Slaughter off the mysterious level monsters, gain essence, and awaken the power of the true dragon. Slaying the abyss gods, understanding forbidden martial arts. On that day, the demons of heaven and earth rebelled, and the human race was in danger. Jiang Nan, covered in strong tendons and flesh, walked out of the dungeon, pushing horizontally for 900 million miles. I am the king at the end of the immortal road. Keywords of the novel. Kill the immortal king from the demon slayer's dungeon without a pop-up window. Download the complete set of Kill the Immortal King from the Demon Slayer's Dungeon, TXT, and read the latest chapter on Kill the Immortal King from the Demon Slayer's Dungeon. Chapter 1. Crown Prince Jiang Nan, ordered to go to the dungeon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Crown Prince Jiang Nan, ordered to go to the dungeon. In the antique study, the light is bright. At the desk near the window, there sat a young man wearing a golden embroidered auspicious cloud-white robe, quietly flipping through a thick book in his hand. The young man has a handsome and fair face, looking 15 or 16 years old. Black, shiny and smooth long hair neatly tied behind the head, meticulous in every detail. Young master, it's time to set off. Outside the study, a respectful voice came. Jiang Nan gently lifted her head, her eyes clear, and a faint lazy expression emanated from her handsome eyebrows, as if she didn't care much about anything. Only when reading can there be a sense of detachment and concentration. He lifted his eyes and looked out the window. At this moment, the window was bright, and the sunlight slanted through the sparse leaves onto the flat bluestone ground, leaving a mottled area. From the perspective of the sun setting, it is already 3 poles above the sun. A calm and gentle smile appeared on Jiang Nan's face. It's getting late. It's time to go to the dungeon of the demon slaying division and start working. Today is my first time at work, so it shouldn't be too late. Although it may seem unbelievable for him to travel to this other world, he has not had much discomfort in adapting to his usually peaceful life. He, whose parents passed away early, had already achieved financial freedom in his 30s and held 30 million shares of Penguin stocks. He also owned several properties in the bustling areas of Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou, as well as a courtyard house. I talked about several girlfriends, but they all came to nothing later. Most of the time on weekdays is to write, draw, play the piano and read. Occasionally, I will ask a few friends to go fishing, or go back to backpacking, and travel around. Life is very leisurely. I just didn't expect to wake up yesterday and arrive here, becoming the legitimate eldest son of the prince's mansion of the Ming Dynasty. It can be said that this starting point in life is not high. The legitimate eldest son of the prince's mansion, who was awarded the golden policy by the emperor, can inherit the position of prince. But unfortunately, his predecessor inexplicably entered the imperial palace prison and released the demon domain saint, causing the emperor to become furious. If it weren't for his father Jiang Junjian, who was a prince of a different surname during the Ming Dynasty, and both his wife guarding the Mo Yuan, and his grandfather Jiang Tianxing, who was the great general of the north, the whole family would have worked hard and achieved great success. I'm afraid the emperor would have directly executed the entire Jiang family. In the end, at the request of a group of ministers such as the Grand Tutor, he only accepted his golden policy, stripped him of his position as crown prince, and demoted him to a commoner. At the same time, he was demoted to the Kyoto demon slayer, becoming the most ordinary underground criminal, so that he could always feel the blood of demons. Jiang Tianxing, on the other hand, was stripped of military power and ordered to meditate in seclusion at home. Speaking of it, it is also unjust. My predecessor drank some flower wine with several noble heirs at the Jiafengxi the night before yesterday. But he didn't stay overnight at the teaching workshop, but went straight home to sleep. But for some reason, he appeared in a daze in the Imperial Palace prison. However, this Imperial Palace prison is not the kind of gloomy and damp dungeon, but a luxurious and warm women's dormitory. Inside, there was a seductive woman wearing thin gauze with her back facing him. Jiang Nan swore with conscience that he had seen nothing except for the fairy's cascading hair, fair and slender waist, and her plump and round upturned buttocks. I don't even know what a woman looks like. From her figure, a woman should have a beautiful appearance. But before the other person could turn around, he smelled a special aroma. Then he fainted again in a daze. And upon waking up, he realized that he was really in a gloomy and damp dungeon, with scattered chains on the ground. Then comes memory fusion. Until now, Jiang Nan has not figured out whether it is the fusion of souls from the past and present life, or whether he has come and the one has left. He only knew that after the fusion of memories, there was no resistance at all, and everything was so natural. Being demoted to a commoner, Jiang Nan was unable to live in the imperial city, so he had to leave the prince's mansion and enter this other courtyard called Huiwu Residence, in the outer city of Kyoto. Huiwu Residence is not small, with over 1,000 square meters. In addition to 3 rows of exquisite houses and attic, there is a garden full of Huiwu, with an elegant and quiet environment. Although he committed a serious crime and was demoted to a commoner, Tianxing still arranged for him to have a guard and 2 servants. There are only 4 people in the entire Huiwu residence. But this perfectly matched Jiang Nan's original calm nature. When you have free time, you can drink tea, take a walk, and read a book. He is actually very satisfied with this kind of life. It doesn't really matter whether it's the crown prince or not. As the only son of the Jiang family, even if demoted to a commoner, there is no need to worry about food, clothing, and expenses. Regarding the inexplicable entry of her predecessor into the imperial palace prison and the release of the demon domain saint, Jiang Nan quickly inferred that this was a conspiracy based on the causes and consequences. Is this conspiracy only aimed at me, or at the entire Jiang family? Who is driving this conspiracy and what is its purpose? The emperor demoted me as a demon slayer and executioner, seemingly with the intention of showing me what the demons that harm the world look like, so that I can personally kill them and experience the hardships of being a demon hunter and demon slayer. But it is unknown whether the emperor really thinks so. As a prince and crown prince, I naturally know more about the dungeons where demons are detained than the general public. The dungeon is filled with evil energy and resentment, and ordinary criminals must leave at most 3 months, otherwise they will be attacked and die by the evil energy and resentment. The emperor only allowed him to enter the dungeon and become the lowest criminal, but did not give him time to leave. That is to say, life and death are still firmly controlled by the emperor. Jiang Nan doesn't care about these either. As the legitimate eldest son of the prince's mansion, although deprived of the throne, he did not believe that he would die easily. Entering the imperial palace prison and releasing the holy empress of the demon domain, she did not kill him, indicating that the power of the Jiang family, even the emperor, was somewhat wary or hesitant. After all, his father Prince Yong Jiang Junjian and grandfather General Zhenbei Jiang Tianxing were not decorations. Or, to put it another way, the emperor had no intention of killing him, and doing so was just for another purpose. It is difficult for outsiders to speculate on the emperor's thoughts. It is very likely that this is just a strategy of the emperor. He still needs to carefully consider and investigate some things. Once you come, please settle down. Jiang Nan picked up the slightly uplifted mood, closed the book with a bookmark, and neatly placed it on one side of the desk. I just stood up. The study is very spacious. The ground is paved with thick rosewood, with a reddish-brown texture and a slightly yellow overall color tone. Surrounded are deep red iron sandalwood bookshelves that are more than 1 person tall. Each layer of the bookshelf is almost packed with various books. In the middle of the study, there is a deep red coffee table and a soft collapse. On top of the coffee table, there are neatly arranged tea plates with carved unicorn patterns and porcelain white phoenix tea sets. Jiang Nan walked over and poured a cup of clear tea, drinking it all in one gulp. Then he habitually rinsed the teacup, set it up, and then walked out. Outside the study, a young man of 17 or 18, dressed in servant clothes, stood with his hands hanging down and his face respectful. "Ozako, where's your sister?" Standing in the spacious corridor, Jiang Nan looked up at the sky and casually asked. This tone is also the tone of the predecessor, and when spoken, there is no conflict and others cannot see any change. The boy's name is Li Zhe, and he also has an older sister named Li Lu, who are two close servants of Jiang Nan. Li Zhe has been following his predecessor for 5 years. And my sister Li Lu has only recently come over and has been at the general's mansion before. Li Zhe looked at the young master in white clothes who was as handsome as an immortal in front of him, slightly lost in thought. Li Zhe has always been indignant about his young master falling into such a field. Your own young master is not the kind of person who disregards the overall situation. This is clearly a trap deliberately set by someone, even a fool can see it. But there is no evidence. The young master was indeed discovered in the imperial palace prison, but the demon domain saint in the prison was nowhere to be found. I asked, but didn't hear Li Zhe's reply. Jiang Nan turned to look over. Seeing the young master's gaze turn, Li Zhe regained his senses and respectfully said, "Sister, I'm going to buy groceries." Jiang Nan nodded slightly. "Let's go." Then he walked along Qingshe Road towards the outside of Huiwu residence. Li Zhe followed closely behind. Soon, the master and servant arrived outside the door. A spacious carriage stopped at the door. The one pulling the cart is a jujube red tall horse. Standing beside the carriage was a young man with a straight figure, about 20.7 or 8 years old, who was his attendant Zhou Qing. "Your Highness," Zhou Qing immediately clasped his fists and respectfully said when he saw Jiang Nan. Zhou Qing is a 7-fold heavenly warrior from the Kaiyuan realm. The breath emanating from her whole body made Jiang Nan feel a bit suppressed. In the early stage of martial arts, there were 3 stages. Forging the body, activating the pulse, and opening the element. However, there were not many who could enter the opening element realm at the age of 25.6. In this regard, Zhou Qing can be considered a genius. I am no longer the crown prince. From today on, don't call me your highness anymore, call me young master. Jiang Nan smiled and said. Zhou Qing's eyes flickered slightly with a strange color. His highness is still the same, with the same speech, demeanor. He remains calm and composed, but it seems that his highness has added something inexplicable to his impression. There is both calmness and maturity. Perhaps it was because of this blow that this happened. Indeed, people need to go through hardships in order to become more mature. Then respectfully clasped his fists and said, "Yes, young master." In fact, even if the general's office does not send him over, Jiang Nan will not have any problems. Although Jiang Nan was demoted to the rank of commoner, in Kyoto, there was no one who dared to act boldly against the young prince's mansion. As a guard, it only serves a simple protective role, indicating an identity. Jiang Nan lifted his foot, stepped on his foot, and then got into the carriage. Li Zhe followed up and sat in the driving position. Zhou Qing didn't get on the car and followed beside it. As a martial artist in the Kaiyuan realm, his walking speed is not slower than that of a carriage. Huiwu is located in the western part of the outer city of Kyoto, while the Demon Slayer's dungeon is also located in the western part of the outer city. The carriage drove west with a creaking sound. The carriage is very ordinary, but not far from the restaurant. Some people are looking at this ordinary carriage. 2 young people dressed in blue, embroidered gold, and brocade stood at the window in the tavern, looking down at the carriage passing by from the street. The young man in blue smiled and said, "Jiang Dasho did indeed go to work in the dungeon of the demon-slaying division, it's a pity. Unfortunately, if you let go of the holy maiden of the demon domain, or if you rely on his father, Prince Yong, for meritorious service to the country, your majesty will definitely execute him from all over the family. The young man in genie remained non-committal. Oh my, let's just say that. At least your majesty didn't kill him and gave him a job, which shows your majesty's kindness. The young man in blue frowned imperceptibly and then relaxed, saying, all right, I saw it too. Let's go back and report. Do you want to follow up and take a look? The young man in brocade didn't seem to see the expression on the young man in blue, watching the carriage go far away. No need. You should know that he was appointed as a dungeon prisoner by his majesty. As long as Jiang Dazhou is not a fool, he will not resist the order. That's true. Hey, when you say this, Jiang Nan clearly dares not resist the order. His Highness insists that we take a look. What does he mean? The young man in blue changed his face and said, shut up. Don't ask anything you should or shouldn't ask. Don't you want to live anymore? The young man in brocade suddenly woke up upon hearing the words, knowing that he had made a mistake, and quickly said, I was talkative, I shouldn't have asked. The young man in blue gave him a cold look and said, let's go. Okay. P.S. Newcomer's new book. Please take care of it. Each of my chapters is quite long, some even reaching 7,000 or 8,000 words, so it may seem like the number of chapters is small, but there are many words, definitely enough. Starting Point has been in a PK system recently, with serious internal competition. Please do not raise books, brothers, even if you don't have time to watch every day, at least take some time to open it. Poor grades can weaken the author's creative enthusiasm. Thank you all for your kind love. Request all support. Newcomers and new books, seeking support. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Demon Slayer, don't see me outside for the first time. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Demon Slayer, don't see me outside for the first time at the entrance of the demon slaying division. Jiang Nan got off the car. No need for identification, no one in Kyoto doesn't know him. Not only because of his identity, without him, he looks too handsome. Her facial features are so beautiful that they give off an unreal feeling. Those girls who were waiting for words in the boudoir were all fascinated by Jiang Nan's eyes. And those beautiful young women who have already married are even more radiant in their eyes, wishing to commit to each other with their own bodies, even if they are intimate. It can be said that besides his status as a crown prince, being handsome is his greatest advantage. With this gentle and elegant temperament, almost everyone in Kyoto knows their ruler. Standing at the door was a middle-aged man wearing the uniform of the demon slayer and with a beard. His face was resolute, with a noticeable scar on his forehead, making it more serious and majestic. Before he could speak, a awe-inspiring aura rushed towards him. Upon seeing Jiang Nan get off the car and arrive, the middle-aged man saw this handsome and unattractive crown prince of the Jiang family, who was also slightly absent-minded. He immediately clenched his fists and said, Huangbu Master Shi Wenhao, welcome your highness. The head of the yellow department of the demon slaying department did not underestimate him because he was a demoted crown prince, and still followed the previous standards. It's okay to let go of the fairy maiden of the demon tribe, it's just being demoted. It can be said that the emperor did not believe himself because he was concerned about the strength of the Jiang family. Moreover, the person in front of me is not an ordinary person. My father is Prince Yong, and my grandfather is the Grand General of Zhenbei. His status are far superior to those of ordinary nobles, and even some princes are inferior to him. Moreover, the incident of releasing the Holy Maiden from the demon domain is quite suspicious, and the authorities are still fully investigating. Of course, these have nothing to do with him. This matter involves a wide range of aspects, and it is not within the reach of this small chief Huang of the demon slaying department. What he needs to do is to take this master away according to the rules. Mr. Shi, please be polite. I am no longer the crown prince, so please do not address me as your highness. Besides, I am currently a criminal and should be your subordinate. You can just call me by name. Jiang Nan looked at the middle-aged man in uniform in front of him, feeling the powerful bloody aura on his body. He suppressed his discomfort and smiled, saying, Shi Wenhao is a master who has been dealing with demons all year round. He naturally exudes a bloody aura and a terrifying aura. Even if you try to cover it up, you can't cover it up. This is also due to Jiang Nan's low strength. 16 years old, just in the state of physical fitness. But the bones and fascia have also been quenched and refined, and have entered the stage of refining blood. As long as the blood refining is completed, you can step into the Tongmai realm. As expected, he is worthy of the title of Prince Yong, and with this calm and composed demeanor, it is beyond the comparison of ordinary people. Shi Wenhao secretly praised in his heart. Well, that's okay. Let's do it then. Let's call you Jiang Shao. What do you think? Shi Wenhao thought for a moment and said. Sure. Jiang Nan nodded and said, besides, don't say anything more about your honorific title. Okay, Shi Wenhao nodded. Since the master himself proposed it, he just followed suit. You should know that this master is still facing punishment. In this way, it also saves some trouble and avoids falling into the trap of gossip. Jiang Shao, please follow me. Shi Wenhao immediately turned around and led Jiang Nan into the demon-slaying division. You guys go back. Jiang Nan turned to Li Zhe and Zhou Qing and said. This is the demon-slaying department, not everyone can come in. Yes, young master. We'll pick you up tonight. Li Zhe said. Jiang Nan nodded and then followed Shi Wenhao inside. Li Zhe and Zhou Qing watched as Jiang Nan walked in before turning back. Changing into the uniform of a criminal, with a waist tag hanging from his waist, Jiang Nan became a demon slayer and was subordinate to the Huang tribe. Shi Wenhao began to nod his teeth while arranging for people to enter the dungeon to work. Ding San, EZ number 15. Lu Qiao, EZ number 7. Lu Chuan, number 1 with the character, Bing. Han Er, Jia Z number 6. Jiang Nan, the number of D is 13. The monsters imprisoned in the dungeons of A, B, C, and D are slightly different, with A being the strongest and D being the weakest. Although they are all first-level monster beasts, at the lowest they are equivalent to the human Kaiyuan realm, their strength also varies. The stronger the strength, the stronger the evil energy. Slaying them will be eroded by their powerful evil energy, accumulating over time and causing a sharp reduction in lifespan. Jiang Nan is the number 13 with the letter D, ranking last. The strength of the imprisoned monster is the weakest, which means he is relatively safer here. Shi Wenhao arranged Jiang Nan in a T-shaped number, obviously to take care of him. Jiang Nan knew this in his heart, and other criminals also knew it. Although it was uncomfortable, no one dared to say it. Entering the demon-slaying department is like selling oneself, always being a member of the demon-slaying department. From the moment they entered the demon-slaying division and became criminals, these people's lives no longer belonged to them, only to the demon-slaying division. The Demon-Slaying Bureau was a special institution of the Ming Dynasty, directly under the emperor. Unless they advance their strength and enter the realm of communication before they die, they are eligible to be assessed as novice demon hunters. Otherwise, one can only be a criminal for a lifetime and will never be able to leave the dungeon. Shi Wenhao personally took Jiang Nan to the underground dungeon. Underneath the dungeon, facing each other was a cold and gloomy aura. The deeper he went, the stronger the evil energy and the colder it became. Jiang Nan felt his muscles stiffen a bit. At this moment it is early summer outside, but there is still no temperature felt here, as if it is winter. Jiang Nan felt a chill in his heart. This is only the first layer, so what about the second and third layers? It can be imagined that the evil energy will become even stronger. After experiencing it firsthand, Jiang Nan has a clearer definition of the living environment for criminals. Punishers are specifically responsible for killing demons in dungeons. It may seem like a member of the demon slaying division, but it is the lowest and most lowly position in the demon slaying division. Apart from some freedom, the living environment is not as strong as that of prisoners. Only by becoming a demon hunter can one be qualified to leave this cold dungeon. Above the criminal is the apprentice demon hunter. There are also level 1 demon hunters, level 2 demon hunters, as well as more powerful level 3 and level 4 demon hunters. To become a trainee demon hunter, one must at least have a cultivation level in the realm of meridians. The first level demon slayer requires the lowest cultivation level in the Kaiyuan realm. The second level demon hunting envoy requires a strong person from the divine hidden realm to serve. Shi Wenhao is a powerhouse of the divine treasure realm, and he is also the pinnacle of the divine treasure realm. However, these have nothing to do with Jiang Nan for the time being. He was appointed as a prisoner by the emperor, and whether he can become a demon hunter in the future depends on the emperor's mood. If he is in a bad mood, he is likely to stay in this dungeon for a long time, spending all day with bloody demons. Of course, this long period of time is currently difficult to define. Maybe half a year, maybe a year. Maybe 5 or 10 years. Even for a lifetime. No one can be certain. Everything depends on the emperor. As for whether he can survive under this dungeon for more than 6 months, that's another matter. You have read the manual, and your task today is to slaughter the 3 demons here. Remember, don't enter the interior, the demon inside is not something your current spirit can resist. Shi Wenhao warned. During this period, no matter what you see or hear, don't take it seriously. As the principal, being able to personally guide Jiang Nan in the dungeon, he has done his utmost in benevolence and righteousness. Next, to what extent Jiang Nan can achieve, it is his own business. He is not someone's nanny. As the head of the yellow department, he has many more important things to do. Thank you, sir. Jiang Nan clasped his fists and said. Shi Wenhao nodded and then turned around to leave. Although the dungeon is cold and gloomy, it is not dimly lit with oil lamps on the walls. It is said that the oil in these oil lamps is the oil of monsters and is very resistant to burning. And there's no smoke yet. Jiang Nan looked around. There are various slaughter knives hanging on the wall. This is just like a slaughterhouse. He needs to categorize the killed meat, organs, bones, fur, etc., and put them in various areas. The first thing to be slaughtered is a donkey. Different from ordinary donkeys. This donkey has scales on its body, and its mouth is full of fangs. Its eyes are red and bloodthirsty. If it weren't for the chain locking it up and restraining its strength, it might have swallowed Jiang Nan in the first bite. This is not the first time Jiang Nan has seen a monster. In the memory of my predecessor, I once had the appearance of a demon beast. Although it was not a donkey, I had finally seen a demon beast. But for Jiang Nan, who has traveled through time, this is definitely a groundbreaking first time. Shockwave, curiosity, fear, excitement, and various emotions vary. However, Jiang Nan did not forget what he was here for. His job is to slaughter and kill demons. Not only to kill it, but also to decompose it. All the materials on the demon's body are treasures. Blood and organs can be used as medicine, meat can be consumed, teeth and bones can be refined, for it can not only be used for clothing, but also for medicine and some talismans. Scales can be made into armor. In fact, a dungeon is actually a slaughterhouse, decomposition and processing plant. Not only can it make the demon slayer self-sufficient in resources, but it can also sell some. The precious meat on the tables of the Kyoto royal family and some noble families, as well as some medicinal liquids and pills, came from here. Jiang Nan pulled the hanging donkey demon to the slaughterhouse. Suddenly, a strong demonic aura rushed towards me. It makes people feel cold. But with a flash of the rune carved on the mysterious iron chain, the demonic energy on the donkey demon was suppressed. Jiang Nan took out a sharp knife from the wall. Killing demons is like killing chickens, the first step is to release blood. The difference is that killing a chicken only requires cutting the neck, but killing a demon requires piercing the heart. This not only kills the demon, but also allows blood to flow out quickly. The blood of monsters is also a treasure. Jiang Nan looked at the donkey demon and glanced at the donkey whip under its crotch. It's quite long. This thing is very valuable, and the nobles in the imperial city have always been enthusiastic about it. In the gilded building, they stew, cook, slice and stir-fry with other auxiliary dishes, and the adults eat one by one with great energy. Then they go to the teaching workshop to find the flower leaders to show off their prowess. His gaze withdrew and he gestured on the donkey demon's chest, trying to locate its heart. The first time he used a knife, he didn't know where the donkey demon's heart was. The donkey demon was bound, and its mouth was also bound. When Jiang Nan took out a sharp knife, her eyes widened with fear and resentment. "Oh, isn't it just that we ate more than 10 people? You can eat us, and we can also eat people, Huiwu." The donkey demon struggled desperately, but to no avail, the chains were tightly bound. Jiang Nan glanced at it. Who knew that the donkey demon's eyes blinked, and Jiang Nan's eyes lit up? The donkey demon in front of him was gone. What appeared in front of me was a young woman who was bound. Long hair drooping, red lips blazing with flames, charming eyes, long eyelashes fluttering up and down. With a slender waist and ample buttocks, the chest is tightened by a rope, bulging to the point of seeming to explode. All of this allures to the primitive impulses in people's hearts. Jiang Nan was taken aback. His mind suddenly remembered Shi Wenhao's words. During this period, no matter what you see or hear, don't take it seriously. And when he remembered the black donkey whip he had just seen, his face turned black. This damn donkey demon. As soon as my thoughts reached me, all the illusions in front of me disappeared, and I remained an ugly donkey demon bound and struggling. At the end of the day, the Taoist conduct of this donkey demon is still too poor to truly confuse Jiang Nan. Jiang Nan didn't care either, holding a sharp knife and gesturing on the donkey demon's chest. This is the first time for both him and his predecessor. I haven't even killed a chicken in my past life. It's impossible to kill such a big guy now if I don't feel any panic in my heart. But no matter how panicked or resistant you are, you still have to kill. At the moment when the emperor made him a dungeon prisoner, he could not control the scene before him. Kill. Jiang Nan's eyes closed and a sharp knife stabbed in. Puff. The sharp sword specially made by the demon slayer is extremely sharp. Moreover, the power of the physical realm is much stronger than that of ordinary people. Although the skin covered with fine scales on the body of the donkey demon was extremely hard, it penetrated without any obstacles. Woo-woo. The donkey demon stared and moved wildly. Jiang Nan opened his eyes, but saw that the position of the sharp knife seemed to be incorrect. Although the blood was dripping, it was not splattering. It was obvious that the stabbing was off target, and the knife did not penetrate the heart at all. Jiang Nan blinked his eyes, turned his sharp knife around, pulled it out, and poked it a few more times. He is searching for the location of his heart. The donkey demon gritted its teeth in pain, but unfortunately its mouth was bound. Apart from Huiwu, it twisted its body desperately, but had no other choice. The iron chains clattered and the runes flickered. Jiang Nan frowned. The sharp knife is long enough to pierce into the heart. But he poked it several times in a row, but it didn't happen. Is there something wrong? Thinking in my heart, my subordinates didn't stop, still stabbing. Pull out, poke in, pull out, poke in. I was stabbed more than 10 times, with many holes in my muscles and lungs, and some parts were punctured. The donkey demon's face contorted in pain. It had already cursed Jiang Nan's ancestors for 18 generations several times in its heart. As Jiang Nan used a sharp knife to poke and dig inside it again in search of its heart, the black face of the donkey demon turned pale and twisted. If it had been thinking about living before, but now it only wants to die. Too much torture. It only wants Jiang Nan to stab her heart with a single blow now. Further down, on the left. Hey, it's on the right. Oh, do you really know how to poke? Nimas. It's off the side again. The donkey demon's eyes were filled with both fear and anger. I wished I could bite my tongue and commit suicide, but unfortunately, its donkey mouth was tightly trapped, unable to move at all, and could only stare at me with a roar. Jiang Nan found that the heart position of this donkey demon was actually different from what he had imagined. So much so that he panicked and stabbed more than 10 times but couldn't find it. But it made the donkey demon feel like death. Ah, brother LV, I'm sorry, this is the first time. Don't be seen outside. Jiang Nan said with some embarrassment. But at the same time, he secretly felt a bit strange in his heart. It was his first time killing a demon. He was not afraid. It seems that. That's all there is to it. Am I born to be a demon slayer? The emperor also saw it clearly, so he pushed the boat and sent me to the dungeon of the demon slayer. Just as I was thinking about it, the sharp knife in my hand veered down an inch and plunged into it. Puff. Blood splattered. Oh Nima, finally stabbed. The donkey demon's body stiffened, its vitality rapidly disappeared, and its face turned pale. But it breathes a long sigh of relief. The originally fierce and angry eyes finally showed a relieved expression, and the body gradually became limp from stiffness. At this moment, Jiang Nan was also stunned. At the moment when the sharp knife pierced the heart of the donkey demon, a breath entered the body, and then a flower bloomed in front of me, entering a space. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Three-colored tree, divine and demon body, ancestral dragon's heavenly power. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Three-colored tree, divine and demon body, ancestral dragon's heavenly power. Jiang Nan looked at the scene in front of her in surprise. The space is not large, only 3 meters in diameter, emitting 3 colors of light. The space is surrounded by black mist, which gives people an inexplicable sense of fear. Being in it feels like being abandoned by the whole world. However, what slightly reassured him was that this space was not without anything. There is a 1-meter-tall 3-colored small tree in front of him. This small tree is very special, different from the trees commonly seen. The trunk of the tree is like glass. What's even more special is that this glass tree has 3 forks, 3 colors, and each fork is a color. 1 light blue, 1 light red, and 1 gray. At this point, light red and gray tender buds are sprouted from the branching branches of the light red and gray branches, respectively. The difference is, the tender buds on the light red branches quickly grew into leaves. But the gray tender buds are still tender buds. As for the light blue branches, they are bare and have no tender buds. Jiang Nan looked down at the pale red leaves, somewhat surprised. The leaves are oval-shaped, thick and fragrant, giving people a feeling of thick, juicy, and tender leaves. I really want to eat them. At this moment, the tender buds of the light red leaves emerge one after another. When 3 pieces grow, it stops. 2 big and 1 small. That is to say, the 3rd leaf has not yet fully grown. At this moment, 2 baby fist-sized bubbles appeared on the newly grown leaves. Chaos lies within a bubble. There is a faint golden gas swimming slowly in a bubble, emitting a faint light. Jiang Nan was very surprised. Although something appeared abruptly, he had no panic or fear at all. Everything here is so abrupt, but everything here makes him feel at ease. Without any reason. Jiang Nan looked at these 2 bubbles. Driven by curiosity, I poked the bubble that emitted this faint light with my finger. Before Jiang Nan could feel the touch, the bubbles burst. The trace of golden gas suddenly disappeared. Jiang Nan's whole body trembled, and a message appeared in his mind, obtaining the essence of gods and demons, constructing a divine and demon body, hint. The divine and demon body is a combination of divinity and magic, actively devouring and automatically balancing. Weakness. The divine and demon body is an ordinary and weak constitution, and when the ordinary divine and demon body is large, it can smash the ancient stars with one punch. Advantages. There is a possibility of transforming into various stronger constitutions. Divine and demon body. Jiang Nan widened her eyes. In a moment of mental turmoil, he left the space, only to find that he was still in the dungeon. But at this moment, the body undergoes rapid transformation, robust muscles are bulging, and a strong force is breeding in the body, with every cell in the body growing stronger. Let him clearly feel that everything just now was true. He already knew that the space just now was inside his body. As for where he is in his body, he doesn't know. And he also knew that what had just appeared in that space was his consciousness. Accompanying it is ecstasy. God and demon body. One punch shatters the ancient stars. Is this the welfare of the traveler? This is a proper protagonist mode. Thinking of the prompts from the divine and demonic body, Jiang Nan's mouth twitched. Divine and demon body, an ordinary and weak physique that can crush the ancient stars with a single punch when fully developed. Do you call this weakness? Are you afraid there might be some misunderstanding about weakness? In just a few short breaths, his physical body had already transformed. Qi and blood boil, muscles and skin bulge, and the physical state of forging is completed in an instant. The body has become increasingly robust and perfect, with bright and lively eyes. The strength has skyrocketed several times compared to before. The massive qi and blood immediately shook away the cold and yin aura around, and the cold could no longer be felt. It originally took several months, but it was completed in just a few breaths. If it weren't for first-hand experience, even Jiang Nan wouldn't believe it. Just transforming into a divine and demonic physique is so amazing, it's simply too terrifying. This made Jiang Nan full of expectations for the next cultivation. It is said that his father Jiang Junjian entered the realm of enfeoffment at the age of 30, breaking the record set by the Ming Dynasty for hundreds of years and becoming the first person to be enfeoffed by the Ming Dynasty. With my divine and demonic physique, I don't know if I can surpass my father Jiang Junjian. Jiang Nan pondered. He thinks that such a strong physique should have a chance to break Jiang Junjian's record. Of course, this depends on the subsequent development. After completing the forging process, the next step is to enter the realm of meridians. However, this is not in a hurry. Tong Mai Jing is a foundation. The more meridians are connected, the more solid the foundation is. He remembers that there is still one bubble that hasn't burst. With a thought, he reappeared in the dark mist space. Looking at the three-colored small tree in front of me, I felt a little excited. What will the bubbles on the small tree bring to him again? Since it was just a bubble that he poked with his finger, he poked the second bubble with his finger again. Just touched it. The bubble has burst. A message was transmitted to his mind, the book Zulong Kai Tian Power. Jiaolong chapter awakens 3,000 Jiaolong particles in the body, which can open up 3,000 dragon nests and breed real dragons. Jiang Nan's pupils slightly contracted. 3,000 dragon nests. Nurturing a true dragon. Think about how terrifying the future would be if there were 3,000 true dragons in the body. Jiang Nan couldn't help but be shocked. Leaving aside the real dragon, even if it gives birth to a dragon, its power is extremely terrifying. Not to mention being able to conceive 3,000 dragons. Not to mention, there is a possibility of giving birth to ancestral dragons in the future. Although it is only the dragon chapter now, Jiang Nan believes that there will definitely be stronger martial arts in the future. Nurturing 3,000 dragons, what a terrifying physical skill. It's a perfect match with the divine and demon body. With such impressive golden fingers, Jiang Nan felt that if he couldn't stand out and dominate the world in this other world, it would be too much of a dish. Then he turned his gaze to the leaves. I don't know if these plump and tender leaves can be eaten finger touch. It is tender and smooth. When he was about to reach out and pick it, a message came to his mind: it can be eaten, but it will damage the foundation of the tricolor tree. That's okay. Jiang Nan shook her head. Immediately began to ponder. He appeared here because he killed the donkey demon. That is to say, killing the donkey demon can make the tricolor tree grow. So killing other demons may also be possible. Thinking of this, my mind immediately moved, leaving the space and my consciousness returning to the physical body. At this moment, he noticed that the blood of the donkey demon was still flowing with a clatter. He glanced at the hourglass and found that it only flowed a little. This indicates that he may have experienced a long time just now, but in fact, the time is extremely short. To confirm whether killing other demons is also possible, the first step is to decompose this donkey demon. The location here is just so large, it's not very convenient to slaughter other demons. Jiang Nan reviewed the knife techniques she had practiced. There is only one type of Jiang family sword technique he cultivates. It is called shadowless blade. From 1 cut, to 10 cuts, 100 cuts, and 1,000 cuts. Upon reaching a great level of cultivation, a single blow can reach thousands and thousands, without any shadow or shadow. But in fact, he had never heard of anyone at home who could reach this level of cultivation. It is said that his father Jiang Junjian only practiced to the point of 1,000 swords. And he is still among the ones who will be cut with one knife. However, he is now able to cut out 3 sword shadows with one blow. It can be considered a 3-blade slash. But as long as it does not exceed 10 cuts, it still falls within the range of 1 cut. For the knife technique, Jiang Nan is skilled. Of course, this proficiency belongs to its predecessor. And the transmission of memory gradually allowed him to inherit this skill. I don't know if it's because I adapted to my identity, or because I gained a divine and demonic physique, which led to the transformation of my physical body and the acquisition of Zulong Kai Tian power. Jiang Nan, from the panic he experienced when he first killed the donkey demon, has now fully entered his rightful role. Looking at the sharp knife in his hand, he suddenly felt a familiar feeling. Decompose. Jiang Nan's sharp knife flipped up, down, left, and right in his hand. It's completely different from the clumsiness when I just killed the donkey. After unlocking the chains on the body of the donkey demon, skin, flesh, organs, and bones are removed. Although the technique cannot be compared to a skilled criminal, it is superior to high intelligence, great strength, and smooth movements. Inner city. In a private room of a restaurant. A young man in casual clothes with a handsome face and a hint of dignity stood in front of the window with a slit on his back and hands. You can see the flowing crowds on the street through the gaps in the window. Dudu. Someone is knocking on the door. The young man's expression moved slightly and he said softly, "Enter." The door was opened and 2 people walked in, each wearing a brocade robe and a blue robe. After closing the door again, the 2 of them clasped their fists and bowed in salute. "Farewell, Your Highness." "Free of charge." The young man didn't turn around and said calmly. "Thank you, Your Highness." "Did you see clearly?" The young man's magnetic voice came faintly. "Report to Your Highness, it's clear that Jiang Nan has indeed gone to the demon-slaying bureau." The young man in blue said. The young man nodded slightly, his gaze fixed on the stream of people below through the window gap, and a faint smile appeared on his face. Under the light from the window gap, his profile emitted a slight halo. "Next, you keep an eye on me and I need to know his daily state." I'll leave this matter to Lang Yi." The young man in brocade quickly replied, "Yes, Your Highness." "Yi Li, go and inquire about the actions of the Grand Tutor." "Yes, Your Highness." The young man in blue clasped his fists in response. Your Highness, if there are no other matters, the two of us will leave. The young man nodded lightly. The two of them took 2 steps back, then turned around and walked out of the room, casually closing the door. The young man's originally calm gaze gradually became sharp, and a frivolous curve formed at the corner of his mouth. Lu Xianghan, I hope you don't disappoint my prince. P.S. The new book has been signed, please rest assured to invest. Seeking support, seeking recommendations, all kinds of requests. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Dayi Town Prison Scripture, task completed, is there a problem? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Daresian Prison Scripture, task completed, is there a problem? Slaying Demon Division Dungeon. The number of the letter D is 13. Jiang Nan is still busy. It took about a stick of incense to clearly separate the meat, viscera, donkey skin, teeth, and bones. I don't know if it's an illusion, but Jiang Nan always felt that the donkey bones didn't seem as hard as he imagined, and the internal organs seemed to lack some essence. Is it because the 3-color tree has devoured the essence? He had a slight movement in his expression. The 3-color tree space only appeared after killing the donkey demon. Obviously, the growth of the 3-color tree should be related to his killing of the demon. Maybe it's not just essence, there should also be vitality. After pondering, Jiang Nan no longer paid special attention. After feeding the meat, viscera, donkey skin, bones, and fresh blood into their respective storage entrances, they will return. Sent to the entrance of the storage, his task of slaughtering a demon is considered over. Below is the slaughter of the second demon. Jiang Nan has some expectations. Slaying a donkey demon brings such great benefits, so what about slaughtering the second and third one? According to the manual, every time a demon is slaughtered, it is necessary to leave the dungeon and go to the Sha Tai to eliminate the evil energy and resentment. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to hold on until the end of the task on this day and I'll have a hiccup. Just a criminal in the physical realm, they cannot resist the mixed impact of demonic energy, evil energy, and resentment in the moment when the demon dies. Even the lowest level monster. At the moment of death, it is enough to make a telepathic state lose consciousness. Not to mention the physical state where spiritual strength is not yet strong enough. But Jiang Nan doesn't think it's necessary. Sha Qi. It doesn't affect him at all, his physical condition is so good at the moment. The transformed divine and demon body is not afraid of evil energy at all. As for the demonic and resentful aura, he didn't feel it either. So he's not planning to go up either. It's important to kill demons. He is looking forward to the benefits of killing demons now. This is a monster similar to a roe deer, but its size is much larger than a normal roe deer. When Jiang Nan slaughtered the donkey demon before, this deer demon was in his eyes. Especially the scene of stabbing the donkey demon's chest more than 10 times in a row, has been deeply engraved in the mind of the deer demon. Seeing Jiang Nan walking over, the Zhangzi demon had a fierce expression. But upon closer inspection, there was a clear sense of fear in the eyes, trembling all over. The so-called ferocity is just scaring Jiang Nan. Wow! Jiang Nan suddenly stopped and frowned. It's not the sound of chains, but the sound of water flowing. This deer demon, it's peeing. Not to mention, the urine smell of this demon is much stronger than that of ordinary wild beasts. The strong smell of urine instantly filled the entire prison cell, making it nauseating and suffocating, making it impossible to even open your eyes. Even Jiang Nan, the peak of the forging realm with strong qi and blood, felt a bit dizzy and unbearable. The urine of the deer demon is poisonous. Just as Jiang Nan was about to leave the cell, the formation runes suddenly lit up on the top and ground of the prison cell. Small holes appeared on the wall. The strong smell of urine was immediately sucked away, and the urine flowing on the ground was immediately cleaned. In the blink of an eye, the taste disappeared. The prison where the Zhang Ziyao is imprisoned is clean and tidy. Jiang Nan's eyes lit up. Automated cleaning, this is also too advanced. He has gained a brand new understanding of the civilization of this world. Of course, he did not believe that this was a comfortable working environment specially provided by the demon slayer to the criminals. It is obvious that this is not to let the demon meat be contaminated. Think about it, if these monster meats have a strong smell of urine, who would be willing to eat them after taking them out? Jiang Nan pulled the water deer demon bound by the iron chain over. Glancing at it. Immediately, under the frightened expression of the Jiangzi demon, he stabbed with a knife. Puzzle. A knife pierces through the heart, blood spurts out. The Jiangzi demon's eyes widened, with a mixture of fear and relief in their eyes. He actually stabbed it with one knife. Immediately, the Jiangzi demon breathed a sigh of relief and his eyes relaxed. Jiang Nan clearly felt a breath enter his body, and then his mind moved, entering the space of the three-colored tree. On the three-colored tree, the gray tender buds on the gray branches have grown a bit, but they have not yet fully grown. The leaves on the light red branches quickly grew into 4 pieces. And a small bubble appeared on one of the leaves. Jiang Nan's eyes lit up. Killing other demons is indeed equally effective. But what is this time? Fingers poked proficiently along the way. The bubble burst, and a message entered my mind, the Dayi Jian. Junior chapter. Can be practiced to the level of Emperor Wu. Jiang Nan was shocked. You should know that the strongest martial art of the Jiang family, the Sun and Moon Xiangong, can only be practiced up to the level of Emperor Wu. This was already the highest level of martial arts in the Ming Dynasty. I didn't expect that the Dayi Jian was only a beginner's level and could be cultivated to the level of Emperor Wu. So what about the subsequent advanced sections? According to my memory, my grandfather Jiang Tianxing once told him that the legend of Emperor Wu is a myth. In the past, this was just a legend. But the Dayi Jian gave him hope. There are only beginner-level chapters available now. But with the improvement of strength, there may be future chapters of secret scripts. So, stepping into mythology becomes possible. Jiang Nan found it difficult to control her turbulent emotions. With excitement, her mind instantly withdrew from the three-color tree space. It took him a while to stabilize his emotions. Becoming a legendary myth is just a long-term goal, and at this stage, what he needs to do is to steadily improve himself step by step. At this point, he had completely understood. Killing demons can make the tricolor tree grow leaves, and obtain cultivation techniques. The only thing I don't understand is what kind of energy is needed for the light blue branch to grow leaves. Jiang Nan looked at the other demons in the dungeon, her eyes filled with love. However, his ant-like loving expression made the other demons waiting to be slaughtered tremble one by one. As demons caught here, they are not afraid of death. Anyway, death is a matter of time. In this world, there is nothing to be afraid of, either killing someone or being killed by someone else. But they are afraid of being tortured. Although Jiang Nan had already killed the Jiangzi demon with a single blow, the tragic situation of the donkey demon was still vividly remembered. Jiang Nan gave a gentle glance at the remaining demon and then broke it down. After a stick of incense, it decomposes completely. Kill the demon again. This is a wolf demon. 2 meters tall, 3 meters long, very huge. But at this moment, the fierce wolf demon was trembling with fear. Don't shake, I'll get started quickly. Jiang Nan also felt that these demons were probably afraid, and immediately spoke gently. As he spoke, he stabbed with a knife. Puff. Direct to the heart, blood splatters. Kill me with one blow. The wolf demon's eyes widened and then dimmed. Those demons who were originally afraid suddenly became less afraid. Anyway, it's all death, but if it's painful, it's better than being tortured by this guy. A breath once again entered Jiang Nan's body. Jiang Nan's consciousness entered the three-colored tree space with ease and familiarity. There are 2 more pale red leaves, and the gray leaves have also grown quite a bit. Although they haven't fully grown yet, the distance should be very fast. The light blue branches are still bare. Apart from these, there were no other changes on site, nor were there any techniques used. Jiang Nan is not disappointed either. Glancing at the small gray leaves, he immediately left. Looking at the corpse of the wolf demon, I started cutting and quickly decomposed after a stick of incense. The task is completed. This is his task for today. Just kill 3 demons. But after gaining benefits from killing demons, Jiang Nan didn't want to leave. The task is 3-headed, and it is not allowed to kill less, but there is no rule that it is not allowed to exceed this number. That is to say, theoretically he can kill demons again. Anyway, let's kill first before we talk. Even if it doesn't comply with the regulations, we'll talk about it after today. At most, the excuse is that I don't know, thinking that by working harder, I can leave the dungeon earlier. There are still 2 ends in the cell. Crash, the iron chain is pulled apart. He pulled out another monster and stabbed it with a knife. When he killed all 5 demon beasts, the light red leaves in the 3-colored tree space turned into 7. The gray little leaves finally grew up, but no cultivation techniques appeared. In cell number 13, there are only 5 demon beasts in total. Now, it's all over. And he couldn't enter the other cells either, so Jiang Nan had to leave. As we walked, we pondered how to help other criminals kill demons. If we can help other criminals kill demons. In this way, they don't have to face the fierce and resentful impact in the moment of killing demons. They only need to be responsible for decomposition. And he can also benefit from it. This is a win-win outcome. But this matter is not suitable for immediate action at the moment. Today is just the first day. On the first day, being so attentive not only does not conform to his identity, but also does not conform to logic, and will be investigated by those with intentions. So, he plans to keep this matter until tomorrow. Anyway, there are many demons in the dungeon. Get out of the dungeon and hand in today's task. What? Your Highness. Oh, no, Jiang Shao, you've been staying at number 13 and killing all 5 demons in number 13. The query task was carried out by an old man named Duman, who was very surprised upon hearing this. Yes, Jiang Nan nodded and said lightly, is there any problem? Of course there's a problem. Dumont said. Although the demonic energy of the monster is sealed off, when killing the demon, there will be evil energy and resentment invading the body of the executioner. Therefore, after killing one head, one must come out and enter the Sha Tai, use their energy to remove the evil energy from their body, and wait until it is almost enough before continuing to slaughter. So far, the others have only been killing the second demon. But Jiang Shao, you haven't come out yet. Instead, you have been killing demons below. Did the master not explain it to you clearly? Or did you say you didn't read the manual? As a steward, Dumont was well versed in every move of the dungeon inmates. The principal has said so. Jiang Nan smiled. Sure, Wenhao once told him that the dungeon is gloomy and cold, and when the executioner kills the demon, almost everyone is inevitably invaded by the cold and gloomy aura. Entering the Sha Tai can use high temperature to dispel coldness and restore physical activity. I was originally planning to come up, but later I found out that I was in good health and didn't feel any discomfort, so I didn't come up. Steward, isn't this considered a violation of regulations? Is there no discomfort in the body? What do you mean? Not afraid of evil energy and resentment? Dumont was taken aback. Looking up and down at Jiang Nan, he did not feel any discomfort from her. I don't know if it's an illusion, he seems to be even stronger than when he first arrived in the morning. And his face was rosy, completely different from the pale faces of other criminals. This amazed Dumont. Surprisingly not afraid of evil energy and resentment. Oh, of course it doesn't violate the rules. By the way, Jiang Shao, how did you do it? Dumont asked curiously. I don't know either, Jiang Nan smiled and said, perhaps your majesty knows this about me, that's why he sent me here. Your majesty, knowing that you are not afraid of evil energy and resentment, and then depriving your crown prince of his status, has specially arranged for you to come and slay demons in the dungeon of the demon division. Isn't it because you released the demon domain saint? Dumont secretly pursed his lips in his heart. But he can only mutter in his heart, but dare not speak out. However, as the crown prince of the Prince Yong's mansion and the grandson of the general of Zhenbei, he has some special treasures that can resist the invasion of demonic and evil energy, which seems to be nothing to be alarmed about. Dumont no longer inquired. Jiang Nan handed in the task and then went to the dressing room to clean and change into her own casual clothes. Each person in the demon-slaying division has their own dormitory. Especially for criminals who enter the demon-slaying bureau, they all reside there and cannot leave, with almost no exceptions. Only by becoming an anti-demon envoy can one apply to live outside. This is not only because the criminal's status is underground, but also because the criminal himself cannot live long, and the excessive evil energy on his body can affect his family. Of course, most criminals do not have family members. So there is no need to consider leaving the demon-slaying division. Although Jiang Nan is a criminal, he is an exception. The people from the demon-slaying bureau are not stupid. Although Jiang Nan was demoted by the emperor to a commoner and became a criminal, as long as the Jiang family did not fall, no one dared to criticize Jiang Nan. At least the demon hunters dare not. Both low-level and high-level do not possess the strength to challenge the Jiang family. As for the big shots above the demon-slaying division, they will not offend the Jiang family for such a small matter. Jiang Nan changed into his own white clothes and walked out of the gate of the demon-slaying division. It's in the afternoon, around 1 or 2 o'clock. But at this moment, Li Zhe was already waiting not far from the door. Zhou Qing also sat cross-legged on the carriage, closing his eyes and recuperating. Seeing Jiang Nan come out of the demon-slaying division, Li Zhe's eyes lit up and he ran over quickly in 3 or 2 steps. Surprised, he said, "Young master." At the same time, he looked up and down at his young master and found that Jiang Nan's face was rosy and his breath was normal, which made him feel relieved. Zhou Qing also opened his eyes and was somewhat surprised when he saw Jiang Nan. The young master finished his task so early on his first day at work. It seems that the work in the dungeon is not difficult for the young master. Alternatively, the people from the demon-slaying bureau took care of the young master. Get off immediately. Jiang Nan walked over and asked, "What are you doing here so early?" "It's okay at home. Anyway, it's also idle. Come here and wait for the young master." Li Zhe quickly stepped forward and said. I was secretly surprised in my heart. The young master seems to be more robust than in the morning. Are all rumors false? Killing demons in the dungeon of the demon-slaying division does not actually harm the body, but is actually beneficial to the body. Zhou Qing was also somewhat surprised. With his perception, he could clearly perceive the vigorous qi and blood in the young master's body, which was completely different from the ordinary executioner of the demon-slaying division. Li Zheng was skeptical when Jiang Nan turned his head and glanced at him. Inheriting the memory of the original owner, he is already very familiar with Li Zhe. He felt something was wrong with Li Zhe's face, there should be something hidden from him. Jiang Nan walked up to the carriage and didn't get on. He turned around and asked, "Is there anything I need to say?" Li Zhe restrained his wild thoughts and hesitated to speak. "Speak up," Jiang Nan said lightly. Li Zhe looked at Zhou Qing. Jiang Nan turned his gaze to Zhou Qing. Zhou Qing, who was contemplating Jiang Nan's vigorous body qi and blood, suddenly regained consciousness when he saw Jiang Nan looking over. After hesitating for a moment, he clenched his fists and said, "According to the people in the general's mansion, the Grand Tutor went to see the old general today." See my grandfather. Jiang Nan's heart moved. Due to his situation, the nobles in the imperial city are now afraid of avoiding the Jiang family, but the Grand Tutor went to see Jiang Tianxing at this time, which is somewhat unreasonable. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Jiang Tianxing, Mysterious and Mysterious. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Jiang Tianxing, Mysterious and Mysterious, what is he going to do? Jiang Nan asked. I heard. It's about your fiancée Zhou Qing said truthfully. Fiancée, a beautiful woman immediately appeared in Jiang Nan's mind. Not mentioning his fiancée he almost forgot that he still has one. The daughter of Grand Tutor Lu Hanwen, Lu Xianghan. This woman is 4 years older than him, and she is 20 years old. Not only is she outstanding in her career, but she is also a talented and powerful warrior. It is said that he has already reached the peak of the Divine Treasure Realm and is preparing to challenge the Dan Palace realm. In terms of strength, he is countless times stronger than him. The predecessor released the Holy Maiden of the Demon Domain, not only stripped of her status as a crown prince by the emperor, but also demoted to a commoner, and even became the lowest level executioner of the demon slaying department. It can be said that with his current identity, he is no longer able to match the daughter of the Grand Tutor. So, are you going to divorce? Jiang Nan asked lightly. I didn't expect Lu Xianghan to come because he had just traveled and wasn't very interested in this matter, so I never thought about it. If it weren't for Zhou Qingdi's words, he wouldn't even have remembered that he had a fiancée. Yes. Zhou Qing said, but not either. What is it called, yes or no? Is it really? Jiang Nan, who was just getting ready to board the car, was slightly taken aback and said, what are you saying? It is said that Miss Lu and the Grand Tutor went to the general's mansion together. The Grand Tutor subtly proposed to withdraw his marriage in front of the general, but Miss Lu disagreed and directly held an opposing opinion. I don't know the specifics, but I reckon someone will come and tell the young master soon, Zhou Qing said. Lu Xianghan disagrees. Jiang Nan was slightly stunned. This woman actually wouldn't agree. Maybe she really fell in love with me, but now he is no longer a crown prince, but a commoner. Is it because I am handsome? However, this matter did not leave much ripple in Jiang Nan's heart. He has experienced a lot of so-called love in his past life. He is well aware that love is a luxury item. To truly have it for a long time, one needs to have a strong foundation and then engage in long-term management. In this world, the first thing is to have strong strength. This is the most fundamental. Jiang Nan saw this very clearly. Only when you are strong can you protect yourself and everything that belongs to you. If there is no strength, everything will ultimately be a joke. Let's go. Jiang Nan got on the car and sat in the carriage. Li Zhe got into the car and sat in front, swinging his whip in his hand. Drive. Dada. The carriage headed towards Huiwu residence. Upon returning home, Jiang Nan had a meal first and then began practicing. As for the matter of the Grand Tutor's divorce, he had long forgotten about it. General's mansion. An old man with a burly figure and slightly grayish temples, but a rosy complexion, was sitting in the study reading military strategy. The old man had a majestic face, and even without any intention, his whole body exuded a shocking and terrifying aura. In that majestic presence, it seems like one can see endless golden horses and bloody battlefields. It was Jiang Nan's grandfather, Jiang Tianxing, the great general of Zhenbei in the Ming Dynasty. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in the study. Jiang Tianxing was not surprised at all, not even looking up. He just asked lightly, how is the situation? General Hui, Crown Prince. Jiang Tianxing looked up, put down the military strategy in his hand, turned his face to the middle-aged man in front of him, and said, remember, Ziqian is no longer a crown prince, but a commoner, just like the beginning of this general, everything starts from scratch. Ziqian is the character of Jiang Nan. Generally speaking, only close people will address each other by name, while others will still address each other by name. Yes, General. The middle-aged man solemnly clenched his fists. The old man in front of me joined the army as a refugee, and after joining the army for decades, he stepped into the position of a great general, which can be considered a miracle. But he knew that the hardships during this period were not something that ordinary people could experience. How many life and death crises have you experienced, how many times have you crawled out of the dead, and how many wars, big and small, have you gone through hundreds of times? Young master. As the general of the Jiang family, Su Zhan habitually referred to Jiang Junjian as the eldest young master. Now that Jiang Junjian is already Prince Yong, it is inconvenient to call him young master, but Jiang Nan is also his young master. Therefore, in order to distinguish between them, he is called young master. Jiang Tianxing doesn't care about this either. Su Zhan continued, in the morning, before Jianmao, I went to the demon-slaying department and was personally received by the Huangjia chief of the demon-slaying department, Shi Wenhao. I killed 5 first-level demon beasts in the dungeon, but did not appear during that time. In the afternoon, I appeared and the task was completed. There was no signs of qi or blood collapse, and my face was rosy. It seems that I have already achieved the great achievement of the forging body realm. Jiang Tianxing listened quietly, with a hint of surprise in his eyes, but more of a surprise. Although the reason is unknown, it is clear that Sun Tzu is safe in the dungeon. That's enough. General, do you want to inquire about what happened to the young master in the dungeon? Su Zhan asked. Those with some status are familiar with the working environment of the demon slayer. Not only is it cold underground, but it is also necessary to constantly face the invasion of demonic energy, evil energy, and resentment when killing demons. Ordinary physical cultivators with weaker constitutions can faint on the spot or even lose their lives. Even stronger criminals must go to the Go Sha Tai to do their best to eliminate the evil energy in their bodies after killing a demon. Although Jiang Nan has a good physique, he is actually in a physical fitness state. However, as far as he knew, Jiang Nan never came up, even for lunch, and kept killing monsters below. This is quite surprising. Jiang Tianxing pondered for a moment, shook his head, and said, don't do any exploration for now. As long as Ziqian is safe and sound, everything else is fine. As for whether Jiang Nan will be taken away, he is completely not worried. The one who can take away people is at least a powerful demon with a divine soul that can leave its physical body. Don't say that with Jiang Nan's status, he still doesn't have the qualification to encounter a big demon. Even when encountering a big demon, the complexion after taking it away will not be rosy, and the demonic aura on the body cannot be hidden in the demon-slaying department no matter what. Moreover, there is no big demon in the dungeon of the demon-slaying division. The highest one is just a second-level monster. The more advanced monsters are not imprisoned in the demon slayer's dungeon, but have another place to go. Continue to send people to secretly monitor him, but focus on investigating how Ziqian appeared in the palace prison. Speaking of the palace dungeon, Jiang Tianxing's face showed a hint of murderous intent. The imperial palace prison is such a strict place that Ziqian cannot appear there for no reason. Use all your strength, this matter must be thoroughly investigated. I want to see who framed my grandson. Yes, General. Su Zhan's face was solemn, and he clasped his fists in response. So, should I talk to the young master about what the Grand Tutor came here today? Never mind, you don't need to ask about this matter for now. I'll talk to him personally when I have time. Jiang Tianxing waved his hand. You go down. Yes, I will retire soon. Su Zhan turned around and left. Jiang Tianxing stood up and walked back and forth in the study, with a curious and surprised expression on his face. Surprisingly, he is not afraid of the impact of evil energy and resentment, and has even stepped into the peak of the physical fitness realm. He truly deserves to be my grandson. However, how did he do it? Is it accumulation and thin hair? Anyway, Jiang Nan is fine and has made some breakthroughs, which are all good things. Jiang Nan was demoted to the rank of commoner, which was a kind grace from the emperor. Otherwise, according to the criminal law of the Ming Dynasty, simply inserting a crime of colluding with the enemy can lead to the complete execution of the Jiang family, and even the extermination of the 3 ethnic groups. However, anyone with a discerning eye can see that Jiang Nan was framed. Otherwise, how can a 16-year-old boy who has not even reached his peak in physical fitness enter the heavily guarded palace prison without even realizing it? How can the gods and ghosts unknowingly release people? Jiang Tianxing stood in front of the window with his hands on his back, his gaze calm as he looked out at the tall pine and cypress trees. According to the investigation, Jiang Nan too drank flower wine with the descendants of several nobles and ministers at the Jiaofang office one night, and then went home to sleep. However, the next morning, she unexpectedly appeared in the palace prison, and the demon domain saint in the prison disappeared. When the guards guarding the prison found Jiang Nan lying on the ground, chains scattered all over the ground, the door opened, and the witch disappeared. It is unreasonable to say that everyone has stolen goods. Even if the Jiang family has made great contributions, this matter cannot be left unresolved. In a fit of great anger, the emperor directly stripped Jiang Nan of his crown prince status, took back Jin Su, and demoted him to a commoner. He ordered him to enter the dungeon of the demon-slaying bureau to kill demons and make him reflect. Of course, this also means hitting the Jiang family, and even other princes and ministers. But the matter was not over yet, and the emperor directly stripped the general of Tianxing town of his military power and ordered him to reflect in seclusion. Deprived of military power, Jiang Tianxing doesn't care. As long as his grandson is safe and sound, everything is easy to say. But the question is, who framed Jiang Nan? Jiang Tianxing's gaze is profound. His first thought was political enemy planning, and then the enemy spy arranged this play. As for whether it was intentionally arranged by the emperor, it's hard to say. It is very likely that the holy maiden of the demon domain was actually transferred, and then the emperor thief shouted to catch the thief. This is not impossible either. Over the years, the power of the Jiang family has been growing stronger and stronger. He is the general of Zhunbei, with 1 million-strong army under his command. His son Jiang Junjian was even honored as the brave prince, becoming the first prince with a different surname in the Ming Dynasty. He also had 1 million-strong army under his command, guarding the demon abyss. Although the Jiang family has always been low-key, it is not without this possibility that the emperor is on guard against the Jiang family. However, with the personality that the emperor has shown in the past, this doesn't seem to resemble his handwriting. The whole matter is shrouded in mystery, with everyone having alibi evidence, but everyone has suspicious points. The biggest entry point is who can unknowingly enter the palace prison through heavily guarded defenses. The first step is to pass through the guards. But all the guards that night had witness and alibi, and under the lie detector's lie detector, no one lied. Even before the handover, the prison was patrolled again and everything was normal. So, unless the emperor intentionally arranged for the transfer of hostages and framed this matter for the Jiang family. And the fact that the Grand Tutor personally came to withdraw from the marriage today seems to explain all of this. Although the Grand Tutor is a false official, his status is not insignificant. In his position, his views and grasp of the situation in the court should be very thorough. On the 3rd day of the emperor's judgment, he came to his door to withdraw his marriage. Is this old man certain that the Jiang family is going to decline? Or is it that this old guy already knows that the emperor is really going to take action against the Jiang family, and the reason why he didn't commit a major crime is just because of his concern for the sword? Jiang Tianxing carried his hands on his back and looked at the palace through the window, his gaze sharp. But if that's really the case, is it really appropriate for the emperor to use this way? If it is later discovered that the holy maiden of the demon domain is still in the palace, wouldn't it be counterproductive and criticized by others? The current emperor of the Ming Dynasty is not a foolish ruler. He is in his prime and wants to achieve great success. He should not make such a low-level mistake. As he was pondering, the butler came to report, "Master, the young lady is here. We are now guarding outside." Jiang Tianxing withdrew his gaze, turned around and walked back to his seat, saying, "Let her in." "Yes." The butler left. P.S. During this period, I have been working on the outline and thinking about the plot, and I did not save the manuscript until the book was published. I coded 2 chapters and only uploaded them with the editor's approval. Therefore, now all the chapters are in the current code. If there are any errors or inappropriate parts, I hope everyone can criticize and correct them. Now is the free period, and the word count for each chapter is not particularly fixed, ranging from 3000 to 4000 words. Previously, there were 2000 words per chapter, and the word count was indeed a bit less. Some of the plot had not been explained clearly, and the chapter passed by. Everyone didn't enjoy it either. So, this book will have no limit of 2000 words per chapter, preferably 3000 to 4000 words. Write some big chapters, and if you think it's better, follow this in the future, including putting them on shelves. Wishing everyone a pleasant reading. Seeking support and recommendations. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Because he is the grandson of my Jiang Tianxing, Emperor Huiwu of the Ming Dynasty. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Because he is the grandson of my Jiang Tianxing, Emperor Huiwu of the Ming Dynasty, and Princess Yunmeng. In no time, a beautiful woman who looked about 30 years old and tall walked in. The woman is wearing a green embroidered peony long skirt, with her hair rolled up and golden steps inserted. A fair oval face, willow eyebrows and apricot eyes, a tall nose, thin lips, and an embroidered phoenix ribbon tied to the slender waist, highlighting the blooming red peony on the towering and majestic chest. "Say goodbye to Dad." Jiang Yuqing bowed and said. "All right, don't salute yourself, sit down." Jiang Tianxing said. "Thank you, Dad." Jiang Yuqing said and immediately walked to the chair to sit down. "Dad, Ziqian is becoming more and more disrespectful. He always knows how to hang out with those playboys in the teaching workshop and doesn't want to make progress." Jiang Tianxing turned his face and looked serious at his daughter with a majestic gaze, saying, "You're not allowed to say that about him." Jiang Yuqing was taken aback for a moment. Due to Jiang Nan's incident, her husband Zhao Zheng was demoted from the right Shaoqing of Dayi Temple to the left Temple Chief of Dayi Temple. He was originally a 4th rank official, but now he has been demoted to the 6th rank, demoting twice in a row. Immediately standing up, she changed her ladylike appearance and crossed her slender waist. Her eyebrows stood on end, and she glared at her almond eyes with some displeasure, saying, "He dragged the entire Jiang family down, even affecting us. Can't we just say that?" Jiang Tianxing glanced at her and ignored her ferocity. He turned to pick up the military strategy on the table and said, "No." "Why?" Jiang Yuqing's eyes widened. Jiang Tianxing said in a faint tone, "Because he is my grandson of Jiang Tianxing. And you are his aunt." Jiang Yuqing blinked her eyes and said, "Dot." Immediately, like a deflated ball, he let out a cold snort, turned around, and walked away. With his hips twisted, his long skirt swayed back and forth. "Be calm lately, don't keep running into the palace without any worries." Jiang Tianxing didn't lift his head and gave a warning behind him. "If you're really idle, come back often to accompany your mother." Jiang Yuqing paused in her footsteps, let out a and then walked out. Imperial Palace. Imperial Study. A middle-aged man with a dignified expression, dressed in regular clothes, is sitting on a chair, lying at his desk, correcting his memorial. Even if you don't speak, you have a majestic aura that oppresses the world. It was Emperor Huiwu of the Ming Dynasty, Zhu Xian. After correcting the last memorial, he put down his pen and calmly said, "How is the situation?" The sound echoed in the empty study. Although there was no one around, there was a voice coming out in the shadow of the study. To report to your majesty, no traces of witches have been found throughout Kyoto, including the 36 surrounding cities. She can't escape in such a short time, let's check again. Yes, your majesty. Well, what about Jiang Nan? What's the reaction from Jiang Tianxing's side? Jiang Tianxing didn't make any moves and stayed at home all the time. On the contrary, the Grand Tutor took his daughter Lu Xianhan to the general's mansion today. According to the informant's report, he withdrew from his marriage. Oh. How was the result? Zhu Xian smiled and asked. The voice said, the Grand Tutor proposed to divorce on the spot, but Jiang Tianxing remained silent. However, Lu Xianhan refused the Grand Tutor's proposal in front of Jiang Tianxing. The Grand Tutor was almost furious at the time and eventually left with a brush of his sleeve. Zhu Xian was slightly taken aback and said, Lu Xianhan wants to make his own decision. It looks like this, the voice said. That's interesting, Zhu Xianwei squinted his eyes and lightly tapped the table with his fingers. Knowing that I had demoted Jiang Nan to a commoner and made him a demon slayer and executioner, not to mention his martial arts skills, even with such an identity, not to mention that the human race's Taichu Academy could not enter, not even the Hongwu Academy, she still had to marry him. What is this little girl thinking? Or is it just a play played by Lu Hanwen and his daughter seemingly muttering to oneself, yet also seeming to inquire? I don't know, my voice pondered for a moment and said. Well, okay, let's not talk about him anymore, let's talk about Jiang Nan. Zhu Xian's face couldn't tell the change in emotions. Yes, your majesty, said the voice. This morning, Jiang Nan went to the Demon Slaying Bureau and officially became a criminal. According to your majesty's wishes, the Demon Slaying Bureau treated him equally. However, something unexpected happened during this period. Since entering the dungeon, Jiang Nan has not come up and has not eaten lunch. He has been killing demons below. According to the task, he needed to kill 3 first-level monster beasts, but in the end, he slaughtered all 5 monsters in the 13th dungeon, exceeding the task. I left the dungeon at the scheduled time, with a normal expression in strong qi and blood. After handing over the task, I changed my clothes and left the demon-slaying division to return to the Cuizhu residence. Upon hearing this, Zhu Xian was slightly surprised and said, Are you saying that he hasn't come out from below since entering the dungeon, until he exceeded the task and never entered the Sha Tai? Exactly, the voice said. This little guy is just in the realm of forging his body. He has killed 5 demons in a row, yet he still has strong qi and blood, and his expression remains normal. It's quite interesting. Zhu Xian's gaze was deep, and a subtle curve curved at the corner of his mouth. Forget it, there's no need to inquire about this matter for now. According to Jiang Tianxing's temperament, he might have given his precious grandson something to resist the invasion of demonic energy for the time being. What other discoveries are there? Recently, there have been more outsiders in the imperial city, many of whom may seem to be engaged in business, but in reality, many of the accompanying people are highly skilled individuals. According to the scouts' report, many of them are from martial arts sects and some hidden families. According to the investigation, it should be related to last month's Imperial Tomb anomaly. It's okay, as long as they don't mess around, they can do whatever they want, as long as they strengthen patrols, Zhu Xian said calmly. In addition, several princes have been walking frequently with several ministers recently, including Tan Yetong, the Minister of Personnel, Huiwu, the left attendant of the Ministry of Rights, and Jin Yuhuan, the right attendant of the Ministry of Revenue. Zhu Xian remained non-committal, with no expression on his face, and said calmly, is there anything else? Our people have found the 3rd prince's men in the outer city. They seem to be monitoring Jiang Nan, and we have also found the 3rd prince's trace in a restaurant in the inner city. At this moment, Zhu Xian's expression moved and he said, Okay, I understand. You can go down. Yes, your majesty. As the sound disappeared and the shadow also disappeared, the entire imperial study seemed to brighten up a bit. At this moment, there was a faint sound of footsteps coming from outside. As they arrived at the door, a rooster duck whispered in its throat, "Your Majesty, Princess Yunmeng, please see me." "Let her in," said Zhu Xian with a gentle smile on his face. "Yes, Your Majesty." The sound of footsteps left. Not long after, a lighter step walked towards the imperial study and stopped at the door. "Come on in, the door's not closed," Zhu Xian said softly. The door was pushed open with a creaking sound, and a small figure walked in carrying a brocade box. The woman is dressed in colorful clothes, about 13 or 14 years old, with a beautiful face and big eyes, like a porcelain doll. "Farewell to father." Yunmeng bowed and bowed. Zhu Xian looked at the delicate little face of his youngest daughter in front of him, as if he had seen her mother, Lady Yun. In the past, Empress Yun was just like her daughter is now. With a cherry blossom mouth and skin like condensed fat, her beautiful black and white eyes were pure and clear. Unfortunately, the understanding and beautiful woman died due to difficult childbirth, leaving him with only this obedient and sensible daughter. In memory of Empress Yun, he conferred the title of Yunmeng Princess on her daughter and allowed her to live in her mother's Feiyun garden. In the blink of an eye, Empress Yun had already left for 14 years. And this little daughter is already 14 years old, and she quickly grew into a big girl, becoming more and more beautiful, more like her mother. "Free gift, Yunmeng, come, sit down and talk." At this time, Zhu Xian was no longer the emperor, but more like a loving father. "Thank you, father." Yunmeng's big eyes curved and he said sweetly. Immediately, he brought the brocade box over and said to Zhu Xian, "Father, today I saw that the flying dragon fish in Xuanwu Lake was already plump, so I asked someone to catch a few and make fish soup to bring to father. Father is busy with national affairs and requires a lot of effort. He needs to replenish his body. Open the brocade box and bring out the fish soup." The milky white fish soup immediately emits a tempting aroma, and the 2 green cilantro leaves on top make the fish soup even more tempting. I personally filled a bowl with a spoon and handed it to Zhu Xian with both hands. Zhu Xian took it and took a sip, his face smiling even more. It's delicious. My son has a heart, he said, receiving praise from his father. Yunmeng was even happier, with big eyes curved and a pure smile on his face. Zhu Xian finished a bowl of fish soup and put it down. Yunmeng immediately walked behind him and pinched his shoulder. Little hands were soft, and Zhu Xian's face showed a smile as he closed his eyes and enjoyed it. As an emperor, it was at this moment that he had a moment of spiritual relaxation and enjoyed the rare joy of family. After a while, Zhu Xian said, "Menger, do you have anything to tell father the emperor about? A wise son is like a father." Yunmeng is stewing fish soup and pinching his shoulders, there must be something going on. Yunmeng didn't cover it up and pinched Zhu Xian's shoulder, saying, "Father, I think the witch's escape must have nothing to do with brother Jiang Nan." "Oh. Do you have any insights, Menger?" Zhu Xian still closed his eyes and asked with a soft smile, as if his tone meant to test her. Yunmeng's big eyes flickered and he said, "Father, what do you think? The palace prison is heavily guarded, and with Jiang Nan's current strength, even if he approaches, he cannot get close. How can he let the witch go? So, Jiang Nan must be the victim." Well, Menger is right. There are indeed some doubts about this matter. Zhu Xian closed his eyes and nodded slightly, smiling. Yunmeng's eyes lit up and he said, "Can Father Huang revoke Jiang Nan's guilt?" "Cannot." Zhu Xian still smiled and said. "Why?" Yunmeng pouted, but her hands didn't stop. Zhu Xian closed his eyes and enjoyed himself, saying, "He was discovered in the prison, and the witch happened to be missing. Even if the person was not released by him, he was also the biggest suspect. But because there were suspicions, father did not kill him, nor did he charge him with a full house arrest. He only symbolically punished him. Yun Meng nodded her head and said proudly, I knew my father was a benevolent ruler. Zhu Xian smiled. He didn't feel anything when the ministers said these words, but the little daughter who pinched his shoulder said these words, which made him quite benefited. Father, could you please not take back Brother Jiang Nan's golden book and treasure? Brother Jiang Nan is actually quite kind. Yun Meng rubbed her shoulders and said. Zhu Xian opened his eyes, slowly stood up, and smiled, saying, this little brain bag is filled with your brother Jiang Nan all day long. Alright, since you have pleaded for mercy, then Father Emperor will give you this face. When he becomes a powerful prince, come and ask me for the golden book and treasure. Yun Meng let out a slight sigh in her heart. Becoming a powerful king is not easy, but it finally gives me hope. Although she is not very old, Lanzan Huizi knows that her father has already given her the greatest face. I would like to thank my father on behalf of brother Jiang Nan. Yun Meng walked over from behind Zhu Xian, bowing solemnly while sighing in her heart, Brother Jiang Nan, you need to work hard. Yun Meng can only win you these things. Zhu Xian nodded and said with a smile, how have you been doing with your homework lately? To report to my father, I have not left behind any qin, chess, calligraphy, or painting. My martial arts cultivation reached the 6th level of the Kaiyuan realm half a month ago, but I want to stabilize it for a while before opening up new martial arts channels. Yun Meng said truthfully. Zhu Xian nodded, with a approving expression on his face. His little daughter is not only well-behaved and sensible, but also has unparalleled martial arts talent. At the age of only 14, he stepped into the 6 heavens of the Kaiyuan realm. Even in the Taichu Academy of the Human Martial Arts Hall, he could not find many such geniuses. In the Ming Dynasty, apart from Jiang Jun's sword, few people could match it. Haste makes waste, stability is right. Go to the Internal Affairs Office to get a bottle of Yang Maiden, take 3 of them, and then consider opening up new martial arts channels. Additionally, I see that you are particularly fond of rhythm. There are some music attacks on the 4th floor of the library, you can go and take a look. Thank you, Father. Yun Meng wanted to bow again, but was stopped by Zhu Xian. He smiled and said, go ahead. My son, please leave. Yun Meng packed the brocade box and withdrew. Listening to the sound of Yun Meng leaving, the smile on Zhu Xian's face gradually narrowed. Someone here. An old eunuch holding a brush walked in from the door and bowed, saying, Your Majesty. Let Wei Chun come to see me. Yes, Your Majesty. The old eunuch withdrew and immediately went to the demon-slaying bureau. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Breakthrough, is there anyone you like? The ambition of the third prince. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Breakthrough, is there anyone you like? The ambition of the third prince. After eating, Jiang Nan started practicing in her own room. He first practiced Zulong Kai Tian power. Once the dragon awakens, its strength will greatly leap forward. But as soon as he applied the technique, a huge suction force appeared from within, seeming to drain his entire body. Jiang Nan was suddenly taken aback and quickly stopped. What a domineering technique. Obviously, even though he has a divine and demonic physique now, his weak physique in the forging state does not yet qualify him to cultivate the Zulong Kai Tian power. The required qi and blood are simply too massive. The cultivation stopped working, and the huge suction suddenly disappeared. Jiang Nan breathed a sigh of relief. Thinking of the 3-color tree inside his body, his heart moved and he said, shouldn't this Zulong Kai Tian power be practiced like this? After pondering for a few seconds, he set it aside. Since he cannot practice the Zulong Kai Tian power, he is preparing to practice the Dayi Jin Jian Jing, step by step. Although it is only a beginner's level, it is enough for him to cultivate to the level of Emperor Wu, and this is no longer an ordinary skill. He is currently at the peak of his physical fitness state, with abundant qi and blood. To enter the meridian state, the first step is to open up the meridians in his body, allowing qi and blood to run smoothly. In layman's terms, what Tongmai Jing needs to do is to allow the abundant qi and blood to flow in the body. To activate the meridian realm, a total of 36 meridians need to be unblocked. After all 36 meridians are connected, the circulation of qi and blood forms the Shaozhou heaven, which can be used to sprint and open up the qi sea with full force, gather true qi, and step into the Kaiyuan realm. The meridian realm is divided into 9 levels of heaven, and every 4 meridians connected are considered as one level of heaven completion. So in order to distinguish how many meridians have been connected, sometimes they are also subdivided. For example, in each major day, connecting 1 is the initial stage, connecting 2 is the mid-term stage, connecting 3 is the later stage, and connecting 4 is the completion stage. Originally, in the perfect state of the Tongmai realm, he could practice the family tradition martial arts, but now with the Dayi Jiang, Jiang Nan naturally abandoned the family tradition martial arts and turned to practicing this martial arts that may lead to the path to becoming a god. Closing my eyes, I silently recited the cultivation of the Dayi Jiang in my heart several times, feeling that there were no more omissions, and then I began to practice. Overall, this is Jiang Nan's first time practicing martial arts, but due to the fusion with his predecessor's memory, he is not unfamiliar with martial arts cultivation. The operation of the technique begins to impact the first meridian. When the Dayi Jiang was in operation, Jiang Nan felt that the qi and blood in his body seemed to boil, getting hotter and hotter. He felt like he was about to lose control and needed to find a breakthrough. Rumble, the heat surged away, causing Jiang Nan to tremble all over. A meridian has been opened up. Warmth surged throughout the body. Immediately, the qi and blood calmed down. Obviously, with the current energy of qi and blood, only one meridian can be connected. Jiang Nan opened his eyes bright. Although he couldn't reach the level of inner vision yet, he could feel that this meridian was thick and strong, with qi and blood surging in it. With both fists clenched, I felt my whole body filled with strength. Tongmai realm. Although it is only to connect one meridian, it is the early stage of the heavenly realm. But the Tongmai realm is the Tongmai realm, and it feels like the power has increased significantly compared to the forging body realm. Jiang Nan stood up and walked out. Just opened the meridians need to be warmed and nurtured. After adapting, it is necessary to continuously cultivate martial arts skills, allowing qi and blood to continuously penetrate the meridians and consolidate them. I went to wash my face first, and then I prepared to enter the study to read. Reading can not only learn knowledge and regulate one's mood, but also subtly warm and nourish the meridians. One move brings many benefits. He suddenly remembered that the Grand Tutor had gone to the general's mansion to withdraw his marriage, and it seemed that no one from the general's mansion had come to talk about it until now. Jiang Nan looked at Li Zhe, who was waiting outside the door, and asked, "Has anyone from the general's mansion come to report?" "No," Li Zhe shook his head. "No." Jiang Nan raised her eyebrows lightly, feeling somewhat surprised. But on second thought, it became clear that it was probably Tianxing who suppressed this matter. Anyway, even if the Grand Tutor withdraws, it's not meaningful to tell him. It only adds to the troubles, so it's better not to mention it. Furthermore, it is always a good thing to avoid contact as much as possible during his imprisonment. Recently, the hidden sons of various families and the royal family have been keeping their eyes fixed on the general's mansion, and every move will be recorded by those with intentions, even used to make associations and inferences. As the only son of Prince Yong, he was stripped of his identity and had his genes revoked, and was demoted to a dungeon prisoner of the Demon Slayer division. In a sense, it was actually no different from serving his sentence. Of course, even if this serving sentence is completed, he is still a commoner and no longer the crown prince of the Yongqin prince's mansion. But Jiang Nan didn't care about it at all. Even if he is not the crown prince, his identity is not comparable to that of ordinary people. Furthermore, in the demon-slaying division dungeon, the golden finger was also activated. Now if the emperor asks him to leave the dungeon of the demon slayer, he is unwilling. Thinking of this, Jiang Nan smiled slightly and then walked into the study, taking out a book called Annals of the Imperial Dynasty, and focused on reading it. Tianxing Mansion. Third Prince Zhou Tianxing sat in his study dressed in regular clothes, with a middle-aged man in grey clothes in front of him. His face is ordinary, belonging to the kind that cannot be found in the crowd. A maid presented the tea. Zhou Tianxing took it and took a light sip, saying, "I heard that the Grand Tutor has gone to the General's mansion. How is the situation?" The Grand Tutor did indeed withdraw from the marriage. The middle-aged man said. The third prince nodded, with a slight hint of joy on his face. However, the marriage did not end, the middle-aged man said again. The third prince's face stiffened slightly. Why? The middle-aged man said, the Grand Tutor wanted to divorce, but his daughter Lu Xianghan disagreed. It is said that she even bumped into the Grand Tutor on the spot, almost infuriating him to death. In the end, she angrily brushed away. Click. The white jade porcelain cup in the third prince's hand was immediately crushed, and tea spilled on the table and also splashed onto the ground. The maid was startled and her face turned white. The middle-aged man was also surprised. Suddenly lifting his eyes, he saw the third prince's face calm and he said lightly, "It's okay." Then he waved his hand and said, "I know about this matter. You can go down." "Yes, Your Highness." The middle-aged man retreated. The maid quickly cleaned up. The third prince's expression was somewhat gloomy. After a moment of contemplation, his face returned to normal and he immediately turned around and walked out of the study. "Bring someone, prepare a sedan chair, and go to the Grand Tutor's mansion." "Yes, Your Highness." Unconsciously, it was already the sinking of the golden crow in the west. Jiang Nan is reading a book. Li Zhe appeared at the door and shouted, "Young master, it's time for dinner." Jiang Nan looked up and realized that the light had become dim. As we break through to the realm of meridians, our ears and eyes become much sharper and clearer than before. So I didn't pay much attention to the evening for a moment. Here we go. Jiang Nan put down his book and walked out. The table was filled with delicious dishes, consisting of 7 or 8 dishes. Looking at the dishes that were selling well, Jiang Nan smiled and said, "Xiao Luer's craftsmanship is getting better and better." As she spoke, a slender and beautiful green-clad woman wearing an apron walked in, looking about 20 years old, carrying a large fish plate. "The young master has praised me, as long as the young master eats happily." Li Lu smiled and said. As he spoke, he put down the fish plate. Jiang Nan looked at the fish in the fish plate for a moment, then couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, "Oh, such a big flying dragon fish. Where did it come from?" According to memory, flying dragon fish is a specialty of Xuanwu Lake, but Xuanwu Lake is an inner lake of the imperial city, and flying dragon fish is not available in the outer city. Moreover, this flying dragon fish weighs at least 2 to 3 pounds and has been growing for at least 3 to 5 years. On weekdays, the flying dragon fish is only 6 or 7 liang in weight, plump and tender, usually used for stewing soup. It's a bit rare for someone as big as this. It was sent by Princess Yunmeng this afternoon. It was said that the cold air in the dungeon of the demon-slaying division was heavy, and the flying dragon fish had a strong fiery nature and could replenish vitality. Therefore, it was specially sent to the young master to make up for it. Li Lu said. If the emperor were here, he would surely lament that women are not suitable to stay. His bowl of soup may not be as delicious anymore. Yunmeng cooked soup for him with 6 or 7 pairs of small fish, while he sent Jiang Nan with a big fat fish that had grown for 3 to 5 years. Yunmeng. Jiang Nan's mind suddenly flashed with the image of a beautiful young girl. In the past, every time she entered the palace, the girl would shout, Brother Jiang Nan, from behind her buttocks. Yunmeng has a heart. Jiang Nan smiled and said. Then he casually said, Come on, let's eat together. Young master, this is not acceptable. We are servants, how can we eat at the table with our master? Li Lu immediately waved her hand and said. It's okay, there are so many dishes that I can't eat alone. Besides, there are only a few people at home, so there's no need to be so much attention to detail. Jiang Nan said. That's not good either. This is the rule. Li Lu still refused. She really wanted to sit down and eat with Jiang Nan, but if someone from the general's mansion found out about this irregular crossing, it might break her legs and even drive her out of the Jiang mansion. Jiang Nan didn't care and immediately sat down to eat on his own. As a guard, Zhou Qin naturally stayed at the gatehouse, where he had his food and accommodation. Li Zhe was guarding outside the door, while Li Lu was standing on the side waiting, occasionally peeking at the handsome young master with a hint of obsession in her eyes. Having finished eating, Jiang Nan put down the bowl and glanced at Li Lu. Li Lu in front of me is already a big girl. Gauzy face, curved eyebrows, bright and beautiful eyes, fair skin, rosy mouth, and a sizable chest, it looks at least D. Perhaps it's the food from the general's mansion that nourishes people, but Li Lu is actually very beautiful. Jiang Nan withdrew her gaze, rinsed her mouth, wiped her mouth with a napkin, and then turned around with a smile, saying, Xiaolu is getting better and better. Being praised by Jiang Nan, Li Lu felt both shy and delighted, with a slight blush on her face. But the next moment, her face changed suddenly. Jiang Nan casually said, I'm already 20 this year, and it's not too small to count. Do you have anyone you like? If not, I'll ask Grandpa to find one for you later. Leaving Jiangfu. Li Lu was startled and burst into tears. Huiwu, young master, are you not taking me any more and driving me away? Jiang Nan was taken aback for a moment and said, It's nothing, I didn't mean to drive you away. Huiwu. Is there something I didn't do well? I can change it. As long as the young master doesn't drive me away, let Luer do anything. Seeing Li Lu crying, Jiang Nan frowned slightly. Explained, No, I just see that you're not young anymore. If you don't get married, you might become an older woman. Li Lu looked at the handsome and disheveled man in front of her with tearful eyes. Tears fell down with a thud and she knelt down, crying, Please don't drive Lu away, Huiwu. She is a slave, even if she marries someone, she will eventually marry someone from the bottom of society or become a concubine. Instead of that, she might as well spend her whole life in the Jiang mansion. Both status and life are beyond the reach of ordinary people. Jiang Nan couldn't bear to see a woman cry, so she suddenly felt a little big-headed and said calmly, I'm just talking. If you don't agree, let's just pretend I didn't say anything about it. Li Lu is just a slave, he can enjoy it at any time. He just never had this idea before. Even my predecessor did not have this idea. This has nothing to do with being young, it's completely unrelated to this idea. Maybe it's just that I'm not interested in her. I'm full, you guys can eat. Speaking, he got up and walked quickly. Looking at Jiang Nan's distant figure, Li Lu stopped sobbing and her eyes flickered slightly. She murmured softly, I'm not getting married. It would be foolish to leave such a beautiful and prestigious young master alone. If one day one can enter the house, it will be a lifetime of glory and wealth. But I don't know when he will be able to take me, I need to find some way. She is well aware that only by having a close relationship with Jiang Nan can she have the opportunity to stay in the Jiang family. Wiping away his tears, he stood up and turned his head, saying, Lisa, we have dinner. Here we go. Li Zhe walked in from outside and looked up at his sister who still had tears on her face. Li Lu raised her hand and effortlessly wiped away the tears, her gaze scrutinizing him. Did you hear anything just now? No. Li Zhe shook his head. Li Lu nodded and said, let's eat. Returning to Tianyu Mansion, the third prince had a gloomy expression on his face. His purpose of visiting the Grand Tutor's mansion today was not to visit the Grand Tutor at all, but to visit Lu Xianghan. But he didn't expect to be shut down. Lu Xianghan didn't even see him. In the hall, the third prince became more and more angry as he thought, and with a loud bang, he threw the teacup in his hand to the ground, shattering it to pieces. The maids outside the door were all frightened and trembling with fear. Stupid. Stupid woman. How can a commoner who is only in the realm of forging and has lost everything be worth waiting for, a powerful god in the realm of hiding? Isn't the crown prince of Laozi Tang worthy of you? Laozi has promised to marry only you in this lifetime, isn't that enough? Stupid. Damn it. The third prince's eyes were burning with anger. If it comes to childhood sweethearts, Zhu Tianxi and Lu Xianghan are a pair. Zhu Tianxi is 2 years older than Lu Xianghan and has been playing together since childhood. As for Jiang Nan at that time, he was still a little kid and couldn't play together at all. But 6 years ago, on Jiang Nan's 10th birthday, the Grand Tutor engaged Lu Xianghan, who was already 14 years old at the time, to Jiang Nan and became his fiancée A.E. Since then, Lu Xianghan has never played with other princes again, including the third prince Zhu Tianxi. For the prince, women were not lacking, so at that time Zhu Tianxi only lost a few days and stopped thinking. So I put all my energy into cultivation. Half a year ago, he successfully broke through the Kaiyuan realm and stepped into the Shinsang realm. The cultivation of the 5 organs in the divine Zong realm includes the golden divine Zong corresponding to the lungs, the wood divine Zong corresponding to the liver, the water divine Zong corresponding to the kidneys, the fire divine Zong corresponding to the heart, and the earth divine Zong corresponding to the spleen. The order of cultivation varies from person to person. Due to his martial arts, Zhu Tianxi first practiced the divine treasure of fire. At the moment when the true qi struck the heart's divine storage acupoint, it unexpectedly awakened the rare evil dragon bloodline and became the evil dragon constitution. This is a rebellious constitution, and from then on, practicing is like divine assistance. In just 6 months, he completed the cultivation of the divine treasure realm, and as long as he went further, he could step into the Dan Palace realm. At this moment, he heard that Lu Xianghan, who had just returned from the Primordial Academy, was actually a phoenix body awakened with a trace of phoenix blood. According to the bloodline inheritance memory, once the evil dragon constitution is combined with the phoenix body for dual cultivation, there is a great chance to awaken the true dragon body. Zhu Tianxi's heart suddenly wavered. But as is well known, Lu Xianghan is the fiancé A.E. of Prince Yongqin's crown prince Jiang Nan. If he forcibly cultivates with Lu Xianghan, waiting for him may be like a dead end. Before Prince Yong could kill him, the emperor would personally kill him. It is impossible for an emperor to turn against a prince, and the brave Prince Jiang Junjian who holds military power, as well as the general Jiang Tianxing who also holds military power in Zhenbei. Coincidentally, Jiang Nan entered the palace prison and released the holy maiden of the demon domain, touching the heavens. If it weren't for the hard work and high achievements of Prince Yong's family, they would have been completely executed. Finally, Jiang Nan was accepted by the emperor and demoted to a commoner. Now I can only live in the outer city. He was also ordered by the emperor to become the lowest level executioner in the dungeon of the demon slaying division. Zhu Tianxi knew the time had come. In his opinion, even though the Grand Tutor withdrew from the marriage and was stopped by Lu Xianghan on the spot, it was just a woman's good face. But when he went to the Taifu mansion and explained his purpose, he didn't expect to be rejected by Lu Xianghan without hesitation. A pedantic woman. A foolish woman. Zhu Tianxi roared in his heart. In his view, dual cultivation not only benefits both parties, but once his evil dragon constitution evolves into a true dragon constitution, he is likely to become the 9-5 sovereigns in the future. At that time, he will be the emperor of the Ming Dynasty, and Lu Xianghan will be the empress of the Mui world. Isn't it better than becoming a commoner's wife? Even if Jiang Nan is still the crown prince, he will inherit the title in the future and at most become a noblewoman, which is not comparable to the dignity of an empress. But this woman, surprisingly, refused and still admitted that the deposed crown prince was her future husband. The more Zhu Tianxi thought, the more angry he became. For a while, Zhu Tianxi's eyes flickered with a cold light. Lu Xianghan, you forced me. I will make you kneel and crawl to beg me. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Wei Chun, the power of ghosts and gods, awakening the power of dragons. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Wei Chun, the power of ghosts and gods, awakening the power of dragons. Imperial Palace. Imperial Study. A middle-aged scholar wearing a python robe with a luan belt tied around his waist stood quietly in front of the door. He has a fair face and a refined appearance. It was the renowned eunuch Wei Chun who was in charge of the demon-slaying department and the imperial censorate. In a moment, the old eunuch walked out of the imperial study. Duke Wei, your majesty summoned. Wei Chun nodded, then tidied up his clothes and walked in. My humble servant, please see your majesty. Wei Chun clasped his fists and bowed in salute. No need. Sit down and talk. Zhu Xian said, Your Majesty, thank you. Wei Chun Dao. Then he sat down on the chair that had already been prepared on one side. How's the investigation going? Zhu Xian asked. Wei Chun glanced around. Zhu Xiandao said, You all step down. The young eunuch holding the lamp and the summoned old eunuch stepped down one after another and gently closed the door. Until the sound of footsteps faded away, Wei Chun said solemnly, Your Majesty, I have set up a trap in Kyoto. Without special abilities, the witch should still be in Kyoto and cannot leave. Zhu Xian nodded slightly. Wei Chun continued, In addition, there are a total of 72 guards guarding the prison, and I have interrogated them one by one. The lie detector has also been used, but none of them know how the witch left the prison. There are generally only two explanations for this situation. One is that these people really don't know, secondly, these people have a very strong willpower, strong enough to withstand lie detectors. But this possibility is extremely small. The lie detector has been turned on to its strongest, even Wei Chun's spirit can't bear it. Zhu Xian's expression was calm. After a pause, Wei Chun glanced at Zhu Xian and then continued, So, I thought there was a third possibility that someone had tampered with the memories of these people. Tampering memory. Zhu Xian's face was finally no longer calm. With a serious expression, he stared at Wei Chun and said, With your strength, can you tamper with others' memories? Wei Chun remained calm and shook his head, saying, Although I am Emperor Wu, I cannot tamper with others' memories. If someone hears this, they will definitely be shocked. The usually gentle and elegant eunuch Wei Chun turned out to be a powerful military emperor. Emperor Wu, in the entire Ming Dynasty, only belonged to the top small group of people. It is said that among the major sects in the world, the highest cultivation is only in the realm of enfeoffment, and above the realm of enfeoffment is the Emperor Wu. Zhu Xian snorted coldly, With the strength of your Emperor Wu, you cannot tamper with other people's memories. Do you think anyone in this world can easily tamper with other people's memories, and modify so many people's memories? Faced with the emperor's questioning, Wei Chun's face remained unchanged and he clenched his fists slowly, saying, I know this may sound absurd, but if a great cultivator who cultivates the power of ghosts and gods takes action, this kind of thing is not impossible to happen. Moreover, tampering with memory does not require tampering with so many people's memories. Perhaps only one or two people's memories can be tampered with. Zhu Xian's expression moved and he said, Let's listen. Yes, your majesty, Wei Chun continued, according to the confession obtained by Wei Chun, they all received a brief summons from the commander of the Imperial Guard around 3/4 of Chou, and what? Zhu Xian asked. And they all mentioned that His Majesty had come to inspect, Wei Chun said calmly as he gazed into the Emperor's eyes. Zhu Xianwei squinted his eyes and looked at Wei Chun, do you doubt me? Wei Chun shook his head and said, Your Majesty, calm down. I am just discussing the situation and have no intention of doubting Your Majesty. It is normal for Your Majesty to inspect the prison. Zhu Xian snorted lightly, without refuting or expressing any opinions, and said calmly, keep talking. Yes, Your Majesty, Wei Chun clenched his fists and said, if we only look at the brief summons from the commander of the Forbidden Guard, Yu Xicheng, the commander of the Forbidden Guard, has significant suspicion. Although there is no conclusive evidence to suggest that he has been imprisoned, this does not dispel his suspicion. Your Majesty, you know that in order to enter the prison from outside and save people, at least 3 gates must be passed. The key to the first door is in the hands of the guards, the key to the second door is in the Ministry of Justice, and the key to the third door is in the hands of the duty prison guard. But from beginning to end, no one from the Ministry of Justice appeared, and they never entered the prison in the days before and after. Moreover, the keys were not lost and were still kept by the Ministry of Justice, so how did the second door open? Zhu Xian asked. Wei Chundao said, all 3 gates are made of black iron locks, which are incredibly hard and covered with runes. If you want to break them with brute force, at least it's the strength of Emperor Wu. But once forcibly destroyed, not only will they face countless strong crossbow and arrow attacks, but the entire prison will also report to the police. But there was no alarm that night. The dark iron lock is produced by the Tianji Pavilion, and even top unlocking experts cannot unlock it. Without the hidden runes on the key, it is impossible to unlock the dark iron lock. So, there is basically no doubt that the key that opens the black iron lock must be the matching one. Wei Chun continued, I have found that 4 nights ago, the 4th prince appeared at the Ministry of Justice and later left. During this period, he appeared at the Zhen de Yuan, and later someone saw Yu Xicheng leave from the Zhen de Yuan. In fact, if it weren't for this matter involving the 4th prince, Wei Chun wouldn't have explained so much to Zhu Xian. Little 4. Zhu Xian frowned slightly. He did not doubt Wei Chun's words, and he had always given him great trust. It can be said that Wei Chun is one of the few trustworthy people he has. Wei Chun's meaning is very obvious, that is, the 4th prince entered the Ministry of Justice, took the key, and then handed it to Yu Xicheng. It was Yu Xicheng who opened the prison. So, how did Jiang Nan get into the prison? Zhu Xian asked the key to the matter. The Imperial Palace Prison and Prince Yong's mansion are located to the east of the palace and to the west of the Imperial City. The two are far apart. So, how did Yu Xicheng avoid patrols and guard the gates of the Imperial City, unknowingly entering the brave prince's mansion with numerous experts, and silently capturing Jiang Nan? And bring such a living person back safely to the palace prison? Unexpectedly, even when someone was discovered in the palace prison, the people of the Prince Yong's mansion did not notice. And is the purpose of doing this to frame trouble, or to save the saint of the demon domain? What is its purpose? I am investigating this matter. Wei Chun clasped his fists and said. Zhu Xian nodded and asked expressionlessly, you continue to talk about tampering with memory. What's going on? Wei Chundao said, at Chou, 1 o'clock at night, there will be a brief gap during which, as the commander of the Imperial Guard, he will conduct an inspection. Yu Xicheng can definitely use this time to replace the person. Although this time is extremely short, the possibility is unlikely. But in the presence of experts, as long as the speed is fast enough, all of this becomes possible. If there is a powerful cultivator who cultivates the power of ghosts and gods to modify his memory, then he only needs to modify the memories of 2 people, one is the 4th prince and the other is Yu Xicheng. As long as the memories of the 2 of them are modified, all of this can make it impossible to investigate and become a mystery. Besides this explanation, Wei Chun couldn't think of any other explanation at the moment. The power of ghosts and gods has not appeared for decades, has it reappeared now? It is rumored that they, who possessed powerful supernatural powers in the past, called themselves divine servants. Thinking of the possible resurrection of the divine servant, Zhu Xian's gaze remained cold and he pondered for a moment before saying, "Do you mean that Xiao Si may have been tampered with in his memory? I am only skeptical now and cannot draw conclusions arbitrarily." Wei Chun clasped his fists and said. Zhu Xian's gaze was gloomy. If Xiao Si were to blame the Jiang family for this matter, it would not actually have much significance. After all, Prince Yang's family has always been neutral and never stood in line. If Xiao Si were to blame them, it would not actually bring substantial benefits to the prince. Instead of doing so, it's better to set up some trouble for one's political enemies as a practical benefit. In this regard, the emperor who was also a prince back then was naturally Menqing. In fact, losing a hostage is not a big deal, but it has caused a series of problems within the Ming Dynasty. Even if it is one's own son, colluding with the enemy is still a capital offense. This matter must be thoroughly investigated as soon as possible. No matter who is involved, we cannot tolerate it. Zhu Xian's tone was slightly cold. Yes, Your Majesty. Wei Chundao. How is it with the imperial tomb? Zhu Xian asked. In 3 more months, the Star Tower will be successfully built, Wei Chundao said. Zhu Xian nodded and said, recently, there have been many experts in the imperial city, and people's hearts are fluctuating. You need to strengthen inspections in this area. Also, I heard that some ministers have recently had dealings with people from certain sects, so you need to be more careful about this. Even if things are busy, the supervision of officials cannot be relaxed. This is within the responsibility of the humble minister. Please rest assured, Your Majesty. Wei Chun clenched his fists and said seriously. Zhu Xian nodded and then said casually, by the way, in another month, the woman from the Zhongmiao sect will come again. Please block her for me. I don't want to see her. Zhongmiao Gate, Zhongmiao Gate. Wei Chun raised his eyebrows and smiled, saying, Your Majesty, it has been so long, and you haven't taken care of that woman yet. Zhu Xian's face turned cold and he said, Don't ask what shouldn't be asked. Being reprimanded by the emperor, Wei Chun did not feel the panic he had imagined, but instead chuckled lightly. I didn't get it done, is it because I didn't have enough capital? It shouldn't have been. The emperor's cultivation of Emperor Dragon Xiangong should have extremely strong abilities in this area. Or was it afraid of being slapped? Not afraid of, I want it, but also afraid of, I want it, and it's the kind of echo. Yes, yes, yes. He, the gate of all wonders. It's indescribable. It is said that by breaking through the realm of Emperor Wu, one can be reborn from a broken body. Wei Chun had some expectations in his heart, and the curve at the corner of his mouth was slightly enlarged. Upon hearing Wei Chun chuckle out loud, Zhu Xian's eyes widened and he said, What are you laughing at? Is it funny? Wei Chun immediately restrained his smile and said, I'm not laughing at Your Majesty, but at the women of those wonderful sects who don't know what to do. Then he sneered and said, It's been so many years now. This woman is still so stubborn and persistent. If it weren't for Your Majesty's mercy, how could she be so absurd and disrespectful, offending Tianyin? Zhu Xian glanced at him and snorted coldly, saying, I hope what you say is what you think. Although they are monarchs and subjects, sometimes their relationship is not just that simple. Alright, you can step back. Zhu Xian waved his hand and drove him away directly. Yes, I'm leaving. Wei Chun stood up, tidied up his clothes, then clasped his fists and bowed before retreating. The next day. Early in the morning, Jiang Nan woke up. After a brief wash, I started practicing. He is skilled in swordsmanship. Starting from practicing basic swordsmanship, he went on to practice shadowless saber technique, but currently he can only practice one blade slash, which is still a long way from 10 blade slash. After practicing for an hour, I took a shower and went to have breakfast. After reading for a while in the study, I took a carriage to work at the Demon Slaying Division. Slaying Demon Division. What, do you request to kill more demons? Shi Wenhao, who had finished ordering, asked in surprise. Other criminals didn't have time to hide, but he was so lucky that he took the initiative to request an additional meal. Why? Shi Wenhao looked at Jiang Nan with a burning gaze. Jiang Nan's gaze was calm, but his expression was solemn. He clenched his fists and said, "Thank you for your kindness and exempting me from death. I should repay your majesty with a better performance. I hope your majesty can see that Jiang Jiar Lang is never a coward." Looking at the handsome and sunny young man in front of him, speaking gently and elegantly, but with a tone that was not devoid of blood, Shi Wenhao immediately respected him. "I agree in principle with your request to kill more demons. I know you have a special body, and yesterday you didn't go to the Sha Tai to kill demons. But I cannot let you kill demons casually. As the head of the Yellow Department, I must ensure your safety," Shi Wenhao said. The other criminals felt a sense of melancholy upon hearing these words. This is the difference between people. They are both criminals, but there is a significant difference in treatment. Of course, they also know that they cannot compare with Jiang Nan. The young man in front of me, who is handsome and enviable, looks like a criminal just like them. However, no matter what, he is the only son of Prince Yong and the grandson of General Zhenbei. Even if demoted to commoners by the emperor, it is not something that these people can match. The status gap is too great. Thank you, Mr. Shi. I have a plan in mind, please give Jiang a chance. Jiang Nan clasped his fists and said. Shi Wenhao's gaze was fixed on Jiang Nan. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. It wasn't until then that he noticed a slight difference in Jiang Nan's breath. Did you break through? Well, there was a breakthrough by chance. Jiang Nan nodded. Okay. Shi Wenhao nodded, since you have broken through to the Tongmai realm, your own strength is already much stronger than the forging body realm. You can also add some monsters. Alright, you can go to the 11th and 12th of the D today. There are a total of 10 demons inside, and your basic task is 5. If there are any extra ones, you can slaughter them at your discretion. Since Jiang Nan has applied, he naturally won't give Jiang Nan this face. A skinny camel is bigger than a horse. Although Jiang Nan is now a commoner, he is still the only son of Prince Yong and the grandson of the general of Zhenbei. If you really treat him as an ordinary person, then you are completely wrong. Thank you, Mr. Shi. Jiang Nan expressed gratitude. Immediately walked into the changing room, changed clothes, and quickly walked towards the dungeon. That speed is definitely a super good workaholic. Shi Wenhao looked at Jiang Nan's back and sighed, indeed, there are no dogs in the general's door. Looking at the other slowly swallowing torturers, his brow furrowed instantly. Compared to Jiang Nan, these people's enthusiasm for work is like a day in a day. Both of us are human, why is the gap so big? He is the legitimate eldest son of Prince Yong, but he still works so hard. Looking at these people being lazy and scattered, I wish I could just lie flat. Humph, mud can't support the wall. Shi Wenhao snorted coldly in his heart and immediately shouted, don't procrastinate, everyone, hurry up. The prisoner who had already left the changing room quickly responded to the supervisor's anger, yes. Quickly fish through and enter the dungeon. In dungeon number 11. With his first day of slaughter experience, Jiang Nan skillfully slaughtered and decomposed one monster after another. After killing 3 monster beasts, the light red leaves in the 3-color tree space grew to 9. Then, bear a small fruit on the branch, only the size of a small nail. The result. Jiang Nan's heart was filled with joy. Continue to kill demons. When it reached the seventh head, a bright red fruit finally emerged on the branch, the size of a hawthorn. But the skin is smooth and bright, like a big cherry. Jiang Nan reached out to touch, but suddenly fell off. In reality, Jiang Nan saw a flower in front of her, and a round, pale red fruit appeared. This fruit can actually appear in reality. Jiang Nan's heart moved. Immediately, he opened his mouth and swallowed it. The fruit melts at the entrance, and a massive energy rushes into the body. Jiang Nan is blessed to the soul, operating Zulong Kai Tianxing. Bang, a hole appeared inside the body, and a particle awakened, transforming into a dragon. The dragon roared up to the sky, and a huge force quickly burst out from Jiang Nan's body. Jiang Nan clenched his fists, his heart trembled, and his eyes were bright. 10,000 pounds of tremendous strength. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. The Holy Maiden of the Demon Domain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The Holy Maiden of the Demon Domain. Feeling the muscles becoming tighter and the strong and powerful force emanating from his body, Jiang Nan felt very happy in his heart. He was very satisfied with both physical defense and strength. The muscle lines are becoming increasingly perfect. Although he is only in the realm of meridians now, and it is still in its early stages. But he felt that even Zhou Qing from the seven heavens of the Kaiyuan realm dared to fight against him now. This is the confidence brought by powerful forces. Of course, this is just an illusion caused by a sudden surge in power. The destructive power generated by the full eruption of the seven heavens in the Kaiyuan realm is definitely more than 10,000 pounds. But the feeling of this explosive power is really fascinating. This prisoner's job is simply excellent. Thank you, Your Majesty the Emperor. Jiang Nan looked at the bound monsters, her eyes filled with ant-like kindness. However, this gentle gaze made the group of demons tremble with fear, and each monster trembled all over. The remaining 3 demon beasts were slaughtered and decomposed. After increasing strength, the speed of slaughter and decomposition is faster. Unfortunately, the second fruit has not yet fully grown. Jiang Nan really wants to continue killing demons in other cells, but the rules are the rules and cannot be crossed. Some things are not good if done too much. Go home. Come back tomorrow. Hand in the task. It was discovered that the sky had reached sunset in the early evening, around 17:00. I didn't come up for lunch. Swallowing the blood and qi fruit, awakening the power of the dragon, the body was full of qi and blood, and did not feel hungry. But after coming up at this moment, I also felt a bit hungry. 10 heads, kill them all. Steward Dumont asked in shock. Well, fortunately, I didn't lose my life and killed them all. Jiang Nan nodded. Immediately turn around and leave. The efficiency of killing demons, even if it's a first-level demon hunter, is probably only that. Du Meng looked at Jiang Nan's slightly broad and majestic figure and exclaimed in his heart. Indeed, there are no sons of dogs in the general's family. Amazing. Speaking to himself, Dumont suddenly froze. Isn't that to say that this deposed prince has already possessed the power of a first-level demon hunter in disguise? At this thought, Dumont was somewhat stunned. He could feel that Jiang Nan's breath had just reached the level of meridian connection. Is it possible to enter the Tongmai realm for the first time and possess the power of the Kaiyuan realm? Jiang Nan quickly took a shower and changed clothes. Wearing a clean moon-white robe, exuding a masculine and elegant aura. Amidst the still uncertain gaze of the steward Dumont, he walked with his hands down like a scholar towards the carriage that had already been waiting outside. Getting on the carriage, Li Zhe waved his whip. Drive. The carriage turned its back to the sunset and walked eastward with its long shadow. At this point. Inner city. Imperial horse supervisor. A stable. An old man with disheveled hair and a slightly bent waist rushed over. Old Jiang, why are you only here now? Do you still want to do this job? A middle-aged man dressed in armor looked at the elderly man in front of him, whose footsteps were somewhat frivolous, and said displeasantly. Lao Zhang too, formerly known as Zhang Yuansheng, is in his 50s and is a bachelor. Make a living by pulling horse manure from the stable. He knew that as long as old Jiang had a few taels of silver, he would definitely go to Gulan and never come back until he had spent all the money. Although old people are not young, they have a particularly strong demand in that area. The money that was just sent out yesterday may not even be worth a penny today. Hee, Qingyi, didn't I just have a little fun and rush back? Old Jiang's lewd face was adorned with a flattering smile, and wrinkles appeared on his forehead. He patted his thin chest and said, Master Qing, don't worry. I'll handle the feeding of the horses. If you have anything to do, just go ahead and do it. After feeding the horses, I'll clean up the stable in a while. Tomorrow morning, I'll take away the horse manure and make sure it's clean here, just like the living room at home. Seeing old Jiang's assurance, Wang Rongqing nodded and immediately looked at a short boy wearing a tattered hat pulling a manure cart, who was dark in appearance. Ask, who is he? Huh, my godson, my name is Xiao Bai. Old Zhang quickly said with some pride. So black is called Xiao Bai. Wang Rongqing was unable to roast. This old man has always had pedophilia, and several teenagers were destroyed by him before. I don't know where this old thing came from to find such a kid. However, one is willing to fight and the other is willing to suffer. Wang Rongqing doesn't care about these either. Immediately, with a serious expression, he said, this is an important place for raising horses. No one can enter without permission. Master Qing, he's my godson, not just an idle person. Old Zhang quickly bowed and smiled, saying, Master, working with two people is always faster than working with one person, and I only get one person's money. I'm also getting old, and I'll pass on this job to my godson in the future. This is to familiarize him with the environment in advance. Do you think so? A job of defecating still needs to be passed down, which is simply amazing. Wang Rongqing remained non-committal. But he also knows that the lives of the lower class are like this. Don't be fooled by this dirty job. Some people from the lower echelons don't want it yet. Only an innocent person like Lao Zhang who knows the root and the bottom can stay. The horses of the Imperial Horse Supervisor are not accessible to anyone. I have no objection to handing over this job to your godson, but the question is, can he feed the horses? You should know that the horses here are very fierce, and strangers are likely to be kicked to death if they approach. Don't blame me for not reminding you. That's no problem, Lao Zhang patted his chest and said, with me around, it's not a problem at all. When I turn around, I'll take him to familiarize the horse with his scent. As a child, as long as he's obedient, the horse won't bully him. Wang Rongqing nodded and said, you go feed the horses first. Yes, sir, please go ahead and get busy. I'm here. Old Zhang said. Immediately, he said to his godson, Xiao Bai, come here and feed the horse with Godfather. Yes. A hoarse voice emanated from the dark young man's throat. Wang Rongqing frowned. Not only does it look black, but even this voice is uncomfortable to listen to. But that gaze was also bright and clear. Xiao Bai followed old Jiang into the stable, carrying a feed bucket and following behind him. As Lao Zhang too walked, he said to Xiao Bai, these horses are called lightning and contain the bloodline of fierce beasts, so they are very tall and fierce. It is said that these horses not only have strong endurance, but also run like flying, traveling thousands of miles a day without hesitation. So, these horses are very precious, ordinary people are not allowed to approach them, only familiar people can approach them and feed them. Xiao Bai looked at these horses, and indeed they were much taller than ordinary horses, and his gaze towards people was quite indifferent. Perhaps it was old Jiang who often fed them, but after walking around with him, these horses were all very quiet, elegantly eating the feed in the manger. These horses are quite quiet today. Wang Rongqing nodded. Generally speaking, these horsemen are difficult to approach, and without strong strength, their ferocity cannot be suppressed. Obviously, these horses do not reject this dark boy. With all his mind on this matter, Wang Rongqing quickly went to the gentle and joyful countryside, and suddenly felt relieved. Everything was arranged and I was ready to leave immediately. At this moment, a horse suddenly lifted its hoof and kicked old Jiang fiercely. Click. A crisp sound. Old Jiang's head flew backwards, and his thin and brittle sternum was immediately kicked open, his heart was smashed by the kick. Puff. Blood spurted out from old Jiang's mouth. My body fell like a broken sack in the stable, without even a snort, and I tilted my head and died. Godfather, Xiao Bai shouted in a hoarse voice. The situation was so sudden that Wang Rongqing, who had just taken a step, didn't even realize it, and Lao Zhang's head disappeared. This. Wang Rongqing's face suddenly turned ugly. I was originally planning to hand over the matter here to old Jiang, and then go to the education bureau to listen to music. To be honest, I really listen to music, and I still hang out with my colleagues. Because the money for sleeping with women is really not enough. The women in Jiaofeng are much more expensive than those in Gulan. The most ordinary ones cost 5 taels of silver. And now he only has 2 liang in his pocket. So we can only satisfy our eyes. Of course, occasionally we can also get through the addiction and get some benefits. But now that something like this has happened, where can he leave? Mad, what's wrong with this old Jiang? He's been feeding horses for several years and hasn't had any accidents. Why did he provoke lightning today? Wang Rongqing glanced at the lightning and found it to be a mare. Is it because Lao Zhang's body was infected with the scent of some woman that made this mother lightning unhappy? Or is it because Lao Zhang's hands were not honest and he blindly touched this mother lightning's buttocks? Wang Rongqing frowned. But lightning couldn't speak, and old Jiang also died, the reason for which is destined to be unknown. How unlucky. Wang Rongqing cursed in his heart. Old Jiang was kicked to death by a horse, which is not a big deal. But the problem is to deal with the aftermath. If it's Lao Zhangtu alone, at most just throw him onto the manure truck and find someone to pull him out. But now, he still has a godson. A godson is also a son and has inheritance rights. This was explicitly stipulated in the laws of the Ming Dynasty. Although this black kid only inherits 1 manure truck. But he also inherited old Jiang's work here. Wang Rongqing thought for a moment and pulled out 2 coins of silver from his pocket, withholding and groping. Old Jiang died in the stable, and there should be at least 5 coins of silver for burial expenses on it. He gave 2 coins here, and later took the silver that was handed down from above, and could still earn 3 coins. Wang Rongqing said, well. Xiao Bai, this is your godfather's burial fee. Hurry up and take your godfather out. Sir, the city gate is already closed now, I can't go out. Xiao Bai said hoarsely. After all, godfather is not a biological father, so it is normal to have no tears. Wang Rongqing certainly understands, so he doesn't have any doubts. But upon hearing Xiao Bai's words, he was slightly stunned. That's right. It's so late, the city gate has already closed. Don't say this is an inner city, even if it's an outer city, you wouldn't just open the city gate for someone who pulls a garbage truck. Even a corpse is not acceptable. Well, then hurry up and pull the body away early tomorrow morning. Wang Rongqing said. Then he threw 2 coins of silver to Xiao Bai and said, by the way, remember to clean up the horse manure together. Just as he was about to leave, the little white man said hoarsely, Sir, please give me a note, otherwise I won't be able to pass through the city gate tomorrow morning with my godfather's body. This black kid thinks quite carefully. Wang Rongqing paused in his footsteps, somewhat surprised. But I didn't take it to heart either. Those who are at the bottom, if they are not clever, they may have died long ago. It is normal to be able to quickly make favorable judgments about the current situation. You wait. He said it and left. In no time, a piece of paper was brought with a seal on it, indicating that old Jiang had been kicked to death by a horse. I casually threw it on the haystack and left. Xiao Bai quickly went over, picked up the paper, glanced at it quickly, a hint of joy flashed in his eyes, and then put it away. I just lay down next to the haystack. My gaze swept lightly through the stable, and those fierce horses dared not even show their grandeur. I can't believe that my granddaughter has to rely on such a humble and dirty way to escape. It's a shame. It's a great shame. In the future, I will definitely face the Ming Dynasty and destroy everything here. In the darkness, Bai Yufeng gritted his teeth and his black and white eyes gleamed with a cold light. Throughout Kyoto, there are not only patrol guards, but also various David stations, as well as demon-slaying envoys and patrol angels from the demon-slaying department, as well as hundreds of demon-slaying masters and golden heavenly guards under their command. There is even the most powerful garrison commander. So many people have set up a trap in the entire Ming capital, patrolling day and night non-stop. It's too difficult to escape unnoticed by the gods and ghosts. She ultimately had to come up with this last resort. If the people in the demon realm knew that the beautiful and magnificent fairy of the demon tribe had escaped from the tiger's mouth in such a dirty and humble way, they would probably mock her for a lifetime. Of course, it will also make you more angry. Allowing the saint to suffer such humiliation would be a provocation to the entire demon realm. The demon clan will definitely do everything possible to destroy the Ming Dynasty. And her position as a saint naturally came to an end. She's doing this to embarrass the demon race. It's embarrassing the demon race. The demon race will never allow such stains to exist in the temple. It is obvious that she will die. So, even if she dies, she won't expose this shameful act of shame. Dudu, dudu. With a bang. The watchman knocked for the 5th time. Unconsciously, it was already 5 o'clock. Bai Yufeng stood up, endured the stench, cleaned up the horse manure in the stable, and loaded it onto the horse manure cart. There's no way, it's important to escape. Throw the body of old Jiang on top and pull the horse manure cart towards the inner city gate. She changed her appearance with a special secret technique from her own clan, and she is confident that as long as she is not a high-level martial emperor, she will never see through her true self. And the high-ranking Emperor Wu will not lower his status and investigate one by one among the millions of people in Kyoto. It's still dark, and you can hardly see anyone on the street. At this moment, the patrol team is either dozing off in some corners. Either lie in the arms of the teacher and sleep soundly. Of course, those with less money will also choose to stay overnight in Gulan. As we passed through the streets one by one, the sky gradually brightened up and people began to appear on the streets. Some people who rushed out of the city early or set up breakfast stalls have already come out in small groups. Looking at the towering walls of the inner city getting closer and closer, Bai Yufeng felt a little pleased in his heart. As long as she goes from the inner city to the outer city, she can be free. Not only because the guards in the outer city were lax, but most importantly, once she left the inner city, the suppression of her by the dragon energy of the Ming Dynasty would be minimized. At that time, she can completely use the secret technique forcefully to escape smoothly. No one can stop it. As for whether she can leave the inner city, she is completely not worried. Who would care about a stinky fecal puller? And there is also a dead person who needs to be pulled out of the city to bury, and she has a certificate issued by the Imperial Horse Supervisor in her hands. Passing through a street, the city gate is in sight. But at this moment, a strong palpitations appeared in my heart. Bai Yufeng's face changed and he gazed intently towards the city gate from a distance. With his gaze fixed, he saw a demon illuminating gossip mirror hanging at the entrance of the city, faintly emitting a terrifying aura. It seems that as soon as she appears, she will reveal her true form. She is currently barely at the level of cultivation in the Dan Palace realm, and cannot completely restrain and disappear the demonic energy unless her cultivation reaches the level of the Demon King. So, as long as she appears, even if there is only a trace of the demonic energy that automatically dissipates, it will be captured by the Yao Yao Bagua mirror. When the time comes, the mirror of illuminating demons and gossip will immediately report to the police. Damn it! Bai Yufeng's face was unsightly. Not willing to let his skin, as beautiful as snow and flowers, become a dirty ant pulling feces, and even recognize a dirty old pervert as his godfather. But after half a day of effort, it all fell short. It's impossible to say you're not angry. Bai Yufeng's chest undulated and he stopped in place, squinting his eyes slightly as he looked towards the city gate. If you try hard, you won't be able to pass through. On the city wall, there are so many strong men at the city gate. Once she can't break through, waiting for her will be putting her back in jail again. He may even be caught in the dungeon of the Demon Slayer, waiting to be killed. After all, not every time a mysterious person helps her escape. Not to be underestimated as a saint, with a mind different from that of an ordinary person. After just one breath, a decision was made. Bai Yufeng made a decisive decision and turned left directly. Due to the short pause time, the entire process appears natural without any flaws. Quickly, she pulled the manure truck into front of a garbage dump by the inner river and immediately threw it down. After thinking for a moment, he took out the death certificate from his arms and placed it on old Jiang's chest. Then, like a thief, he quickly shook off his two slender black legs and left. She also thought about leaving through the river. But she heard that the river passed through the city wall and there were a large number of rune formations. Once any living creatures passed by, whether they were humans or demons, they were all killed. She broke this thought at the time. I have been in the inner city for a few days now, and I still have some understanding of it. She has already figured out where to settle down. The strong wind howled in his ears, and Bai Yufeng, dressed as a beggar black boy, disappeared at the end of the street in an instant. P.S. This chapter is nearly 5,000 words, and few conscientious authors like me would post so much in public chapters. Seeking recommendations and monthly tickets, everyone comes to take a look every day. Once again, the author does not wear women's clothing. Thank you for your reading and support. End of this chapter. Chapter 10 Breakthrough Again. Zhou, Tingyu and Li Lu in danger. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Breakthrough Again. Zhou, Tingyu and Li Lu in danger. In recent days, more and more people have entered Kyoto. Most of them were attracted by the anomalies of the imperial tomb. Among them, many are powerful individuals. But no matter how powerful, even some arrogant and domineering ones have converged a lot in Kyoto. The hidden dragons and crouching tigers in Kyoto are not something to casually talk about. Several powerful members of the sect, relying on their strength, speak loudly in Kyoto restaurants, look down on one side, and even forcefully buy and sell in some shops. But within half an hour, he was invited to the Demon Slaying Bureau to have tea. Of course, this tea is not cheap. It is said that it takes at least 500 taels to catch people, and some even thousands of taels. After being rescued from the massive bleeding, these people were all honest. Seeing the people from the Demon Slaying Bureau, they lowered their brows and met their eyes, showing extreme flattery. Of course, this is only aimed at the demon hunters and the Silver Heavenly Guard of the Demon Slayer, and even the Demon Slayer and the Golden Heavenly Guard. As for the lowest level criminals of the Demon Slaying Division, they are not within this range. Jiang people value strength. Most of them are just criminals in the physical realm, and they don't have the qualifications to be feared by these powerful martial artists. At this moment, as one of the criminals, Jiang Nan was practicing his swordsmanship at home. After killing 10 monster beasts, perhaps through continuous slaughter and decomposition, Jiang Nan's one-blade slash in shadowless saber technique finally broke through. Under one blow, it can instantly transform into 4 cuts. Jiang Nan stepped on the basic footwork, and as he moved, his sword shone brightly, exuding an imposing aura. After practicing the knife technique for a while, Jiang Nan took a shower and then lit the lights to read at night. In ancient times, life was too boring. At night, besides going to Gulan to listen to music, I also went to Jiangxing, which was basically related to women. Apart from these, there really aren't any interesting activities. Jiang Nan has no intention of going out either. Firstly, he is still guilty and not suitable for wandering around. Secondly, all his thoughts are on understanding the world and improving his strength, and he doesn't have the energy to drink flower wine for the time being. As he reads more and more books, his understanding of the world also increases. Jiang Nan was very shocked. This world is much larger than the earth in the previous life. According to ancient records, no one actually knows how big this world is. Just a Ming Dynasty is already very vast. In addition to the Ming Dynasty, there are also the equally powerful Zhou Dynasty and Qian Dynasty on this continent. In addition to these three major dynasties, there are also demon domains, barbarian domains, orc domains, demon abyss, as well as endless oceans and more unknown territories. It is evident how vast this world is. But while it was shocking, the doubts also grew more and more. In many literature, some strange events are only briefly mentioned without explanation. It's like these are all taboos. This made him feel that the world was probably even more dangerous than he had imagined. What he needs to do is constantly strengthen himself. Only when one is strong can one protect oneself and everything that belongs to oneself. After reading for about an hour, Jiang Nan went to bed. The next day at dawn, Jiang Nan woke up. After a night of recuperation, he was refreshed and full of energy. I used to exercise in my past life and had a good physique, but compared to my current state, my physique is far inferior. I simply washed my face and started practicing martial arts. While practicing basic footwork, one also cultivates basic fist and sword techniques, followed by the practice of shadowless blade technique. After completing the cultivation, take a shower, have breakfast, read a book for a while, and then go to work at the Demon Slaying Division. Slaying Demon Division. Master, could you arrange for me to slaughter more monsters? Jiang Nan clasped his fists and said. Shi Wenhao shook his head and said, no, 10 heads is my maximum authority. Although it's okay for Jiang Nan to slaughter 10 demon beasts, if something happens, his position as the main steward will come to an end. Although this master was demoted to a commoner, he is still the only son of Prince Yong and the legitimate eldest grandson of the general of Zhenbei. Not an ordinary person. He must not have any trouble. At least not in his hands. Jiang Nan saw Shi Wenhao's resolute attitude and had to dispel the idea of continuing to request. After thanking Shi Wenhao, he went to the dungeon again. 3 days have passed in a blink of an eye. In these 3 days, Jiang Nan has gained quite a lot. The tricolor tree has grown taller and taller. The light red branches bear 2 fruits, one of which is mature, and the other light red fruit is already half the size. After swallowing the ripe fruit, he successfully awakened a dragon again, with a physical strength of 20,000 pounds. Strength and defense skyrocketed. Jiang Nan punched a big stone, but the surface of his hand was completely undamaged. And there are already 4 leaves on the gray branches. As for the light blue branches, they are still bare. Under the vigorous qi and blood, he suddenly opened up 5 thick and strong meridians, entering the middle stage of the dual heaven of the Tongmai realm. If he continues at this speed, in another month, he may be able to complete the meridian state. This is not the main issue yet. It is important to continue with the current situation and practice the ancestral dragon opening heavenly power with sufficient qi and blood. He is confident in awakening the dragon in his body to 10 to 12 or 3 within a month. The power of a dragon is 10,000 pounds. 10 pieces make 100,000 pounds. It's hard to imagine what it would be like to throw 100,000 pounds onto someone. Jiang Nan felt that in terms of power, he could at least compete with the divine hidden realm. Of course, he doesn't have a clear idea of what level to compete with in the divine treasure realm, and he'll have to try it out before he knows. But surpassing the Kaiyuan realm is certain. It is said that the strongest force at the peak of the Kaiyuan realm is only 30,000 to 50,000 kilograms. However, the comprehensive strength of a warrior cannot be solely based on strength, which includes weapons, body techniques, martial arts skills, and even talismans, defensive armor, and many other comprehensive factors. However, when one's strength is so strong that it surpasses the opponent too much, one can completely defeat the enemy with one move. Jiang Nan is full of expectations for the upcoming cultivation. I am even more grateful to the Emperor for demoting him to the dungeon of the demon-slaying division. After practicing for a moment in the evening, it was time to read a book. The first morning of the next day, Jiang Nan woke up on time. Practice martial arts, eat, read books, and then go to work. Life is very fulfilling. Although it is early summer, the temperature in the morning has gradually increased. In the mild morning sunshine, the carriage headed towards the demon-slaying bureau in the West City, and Jiang Nan began another day of demon-slaying work. Kyoto Inner City. Jiaofeng Department. In the private room, with a table of dishes, a young man in brocade was drinking alone. Mad, isn't it just that I've compiled half a broken poem now? It's for birds. Zhou Tingyu cursed and picked up his glass, drinking it all in one gulp. The cup is not small, and after taking this big sip, my face immediately blushed. He was very unhappy today. The promised flower leader, Xiang, was actually cut off by a scholar. He felt very frustrated that the son of the left assistant minister of the Ministry of Personnel was not as good as a poor scholar in the Imperial Academy. Oh, why is Brother Zhou drinking alone? At this moment, two young people dressed in casual clothes appeared at the door, their breath obscure, clearly two experts. Zhou Tingyu looked up but didn't get up. He just clenched his fists slightly and said, "So it's Brother Su and Brother Chao." Su Chuliang and Chao Jing, both of whom have good abilities, are from the divine treasure realm and are said to be disciples of a certain prince in the palace. These two people often come to this educational workshop, and during a gathering, they even helped him relieve the siege, getting to know each other well. Chao Jing smiled and said, "It seems that Brother Zhou is not in a high mood. Do you want us brothers to accompany you?" Without waiting for Zhou Tingyu to speak, Su Chuliang beside him confidently said, "Drinking alone is boring, and drinking too much can be harmful. I'll treat you to this meal, and the two of us brothers will accompany you to drink." As they spoke, the two of them sat down without hesitation. Someone added a glass of wine, ordered another pot of wine, and also ordered a few hard dishes. When someone treated him, Zhou Tingyu naturally didn't mind, and coincidentally, someone had also poured out their grievances. "Why is this Xiang so cheap? Half a poem, it doesn't sound bullshit, so I hooked her away." Zhou Tingyu picked up a glass of wine and said angrily and dejectedly, "If you want to rely on half a poem by a scholar who has no official title, and become famous in one fell swoop, do you think your memory of fragrance is sick? After speaking, drink the wine from the cup in one gulp." Chao Jing and Su Chuliang exchanged a glance, already realizing that Zhou Tingyu was probably deeply rooted in this fragrant bird and couldn't extricate himself from it. "I'm afraid this kid's brain is broken when he's passionate about the woman from the education department." Chao Jing immediately smiled and said, "Xiang is indeed a beauty, with a fierce and big butt. However, Brother Zhou, it seems that you won't be able to wait for Xiang tonight. How about this, brother? I have a beautiful maid who is fierce and has a thin waist. I will give her directly to you. Don't worry, she's definitely a beautiful girl. I guarantee you'll be satisfied." Huang Hua the maiden. Pretty fierce big waist and thin waist. These words made Zhou Tingyu's drunkenness disappear a bit. My eyes suddenly brightened up. He likes big villains, and Yi Xiang from the Jiaofang Xi Li is such a beautiful woman that he often cannot put it down and lingers in the mountains. Now Chao Jing actually has a fierce and beautiful maid with a big waist and thin waist who wants to give him, and she is also a yellow flower girl. How can he not be moved? He looked at Chao Jing and said, "Are you serious about this?" "Take it seriously," Chao Jing said. Zhou Tingyu looked at Chao Jing and stared for a few seconds, then said in a faint tone, "No merit, no reward. Tell me, what help does Brother Chao want me to do?" He certainly knows that there is no free lunch in the world, only eternal transactions. Chao Jing wanted to give him a woman for no reason, but if there was no intention, he simply didn't believe it. Ha ha ha, Brother Zhou speaks quickly and is indeed a kind-hearted person. Chao Jing laughed heartily and said, "I really didn't want Brother Zhou to help me, I just wanted to deepen our relationship." Zhou Tingyu smiled slightly, his eyes fixed on him, but he didn't speak. Obviously, he doesn't believe it. Seeing that Zhou Tingyu didn't believe it, Chao Jing shook her head helplessly and said with a bitter smile, "I really just want to deepen my feelings with Brother Zhou simply." Zhou Tingyu raised his eyebrows, reached out to pick up his glass, and took a sip on his own. Chao Jing sighed at the sight and said, "Okay, let's just assume that Brother Zhou owes him the next favor. I wonder if that's possible." Zhou Tingyu put down his glass and smiled, saying, "It depends on how big the relationship is and whether it's worth it." Although he is a playboy, he is not foolish. If Chao Jing had a lion's big mouth when the time came, how would he agree? Of course, he can also deny it. But as the son of the Minister of Personnel, a prominent figure in Kyoto, if he doesn't have this reputation, he won't be able to make a living in Kyoto in the future. Everyone is a person with a head and a face, and he can't even do that kind of back and forth thing. Don't worry, Brother Zhou. We really want to make friends with Brother Zhou. Even if we ask for something in the future, we will have something else to report. Today's wine and maid are just a token of our brother's wishes. Chao Jing said seriously. Su Chuliang also nodded and said yes. Speaking of which, Zhou Tingyu finally felt relieved. A smile appeared on his face and he clenched his fists and said, "Okay, thank you both very much." As he spoke, he picked up his glass and said, "Here, brothers, I'll toast both of you." Chao Jing and Su Chuliang quickly picked up their cups and said, "Brother Zhou, you're welcome. It's us who salutes you." During their conversation, the two drank it all in one gulp and revealed the bottom of their glasses. Putting down her glass, Chao Jing smiled and said, "However, I need to remind Brother Zhou first that this waitress is beautiful, but she has a bit of a strong personality. You need to be mentally prepared. Whether you can restrain yourself then depends on Brother Zhou's own abilities." Zhou Tingyu was taken aback and said, "Is she a practitioner?" "I guess so, but it's just a physical state." Chao Jingdao. Zhou Tingyu smiled and said, "It turns out it's just a physical state, so there's no problem. He is the 8 heavens of the Kaiyuan realm, just a physical training realm. Even with one hand, he can subdue it. Moreover, when it comes to dealing with women, Zhou Tingyu is quite skilled." Then he rubbed his hands and asked with some anticipation, "Where is she?" "Ha ha ha, Brother Zhou, don't worry. You go back first, and I'll send someone to tie you up later. You just need to collect the goods at home." Chao Jing laughed heartily. "Tie it up and play, maybe it's more interesting." After drinking 2 more glasses of wine, Zhou Tingyu suddenly felt a bit impatient. Immediately standing up, he clenched his fists and said, "Then I'll go home and wait first." "Brother Zhou, please." Chao Jing and Su Chuliang stood up and clasped their fists. Zhou Tingyu immediately left the education department, and Chao Jing and Su Chuliang exchanged a glance with a smile on their faces. Banyan Tree Street. Li Lu came out of the Tianxing jewelry store with a smile on her pretty face. She just bought a bottle of perfume. The taste is particularly pleasant. She felt that if applied to her body, it would definitely attract the attention of her own young master. When Jiang Nan returned from the education department before, he had this smell on his body. But since being demoted to a commoner and entering this Zuizhu residence, Jiang Nan has hardly had time to talk to her except for studying and practicing martial arts, or working. She is like a transparent person. This made her a bit anxious. Li Lu looked up at the sky and felt that it was almost time. I should be going back to the outer city. I have to cook dinner for the family when I get home. However, before returning, she also needs to buy a jar of wine and a pack of aphrodisiac powder. Qi Li Xiang is a famous distillery in Kyoto, and their liquor is rich and flavorful. Li Lu often heard that men are promiscuous after drinking alcohol. She was thinking that if the young master drank alcohol with aphrodisiac added, he would definitely have that kind of meaning towards her. After all, she was the only woman in the family. Thinking of this, Li Lu let out a slight sigh in her heart. She knows this is the worst strategy. But her only valuable asset is her virginity. Only in this way can she have an excuse to continue staying with this young master of the Jiang family. Besides this, she couldn't think of any other way at the moment. She is already 20 years old, and she is indeed quite old. Other women, like her age, have already gotten married. If she doesn't have a close relationship with the young master she serves anymore, she's afraid she won't have a chance. She is just a maid, a slave, and has a close relationship with Jiang Nan, without any status. But as long as there is skin-to-skin contact, she feels there is an excuse to stay. It is said that once a man has a relationship with a woman, he often eats the essence and continues to take it. As long as she makes Jiang Nan interested in her body, it is not impossible for her to stay in the Jiang mansion forever in the future. Although Jiang Nan was demoted to a commoner, he remained the only son of Prince Yong and the only grandson of the general of Zhenbei. His identity and status remain aloof. If she were fortunate enough to become Jiang Nan's woman, perhaps it would be her greatest creation. On this point, her heart is like a clear mirror. So, she must seize this opportunity no matter what. Li Lu quickened her pace and walked towards the direction of Calixiang distillery. While turning a street corner, suddenly someone flashed out of the corner. Before Li Lu could react, someone covered her mouth from behind and hit her head, causing her eyes to turn black and she suddenly fainted. End of this chapter.